It's all John's
And you
fault.
totally
It's
failed.
all
The Wayne's
John's fault.
World is supposed to be 5, 4.
Well, we were off mic. I'm not going to count it.
I'm not prepared.
You're not supposed to be. There is no preparation for this. Hello, everybody.
You pointed to me.
Yes. I'm John Simon. This is alexfort, the real fort. And here on Everything and Nothing, we're going to talk about everything and nothing. Let's see. Other introductions, we got Sam to my right. He's going to be doing the chatting, so please chat away at either Twitch or YouTube. And then hidden to the left is Jeremiah. Say hello, Jeremiah.
Hello, Jeremiah.
Yeah, he's my straight man.
Mm-hmm.
I know you would.
He's my straight man.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right. So, other than you being Alex Fort,
Yeah.
famous for having been in 2 of my movies,
At least.
1 of my plays, which is, well, we'll talk about that later.
That's half the movie.
That's half a movie. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What would you like to tell the world about yourself?
Oh God.
No,
I told you I wasn't prepared.
You're not supposed to be.
The main aspects of what I am is a little bit of everything. Like if you look at the Instagram profile, it's like, what do you do? It's like, well, I do voice acting, I do crafting, I do metalworking, I do model painting, I do just therapy. I don't take insurance, so it's very expensive. Sexual health education. I am a not licensed phlebotomist, but I do it for a living. I am an HIV tester.
So do you like pulling people's blood?
No.
Okay.
It's an incredibly high pressure situation, and that is not a pun.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where I don't like needles at all, remotely. I have to get. I know, big bold stance to take. Yeah, I get like infusion
I agree with it.
treatments. Yeah. For like autoimmune disease, so I have to sit in the hospital 2 hours every 2 months and have IVs in my arms, and I hate it. And so now it's like, cool, so sometimes you have to draw blood, and I'm like, okay, and they're like, from living people, and I'm like, I figured, but, and so.
So do you use a H, an HB, number 2 pencil? What do you do to draw the blood?
Usually a 21 gauge straight needle, but occasionally a 25 gauge butterfly.
Nice.
Vacutainers, gold tops.
Why the smaller one?
Because it depends on how the veins are. So if you look at the average person's veins, I'm very white. So
I don't know if we can see this very
probably
well. We're not moving the camera.
So there's 2 vein structures that most people have, like an H or an A. And so some people's veins are very small, some people's veins roll. It has a lot to do with collagen and internal structure. And if you have very small veins, or if you are a substance user who uses injection drugs and your veins are blown out, well, you have to draw from somewhere else that's not the usual area, and sometimes you need smaller needles to do the work.
So that leads me up into a weird question. It's
I
not
love-
really weird. Where do you work? Let's
I
talk
work
about
at
that.
Positive Link, which is an AIDS service organization located in Bloomington, but we have offices in Lafayette, Muncie, Paoli, and Terre Haute. So we service 49 counties in the state of Indiana. We have lots of services for people living with HIV, such as medical and non-medical case management, housing services, dietary assistance. We have an in-house clinic where we can help people get treatment and medications, and we have a prevention service, which is what I do.
And he said he wasn't prepared.
See, I get paid to say this.
Well, you're gonna-
Salary work too, so this is off the clock. Love it. But prevention is partially PrEP services, or pre-exposure prophylaxis, which is a medication that prevents the transmission of HIV sexually and intravenously. We have education, half of what I do, and then there's the testing bit, which is the other part of what I do.
He says with a smirk.
Yeah, because I actually really enjoy that bit. Not for the reasons people would expect.
What would somebody expect? Because I honestly, I have no expectations on this.
I appreciate that. A lot of people think that I enjoy testing because it's like you get to answer a question. People come in and they have a question because when you say I want to get tested, the question is, do you have the thing, right? And it should be pretty satisfying. Or like, why people like to wash dishes is like you get to resolve a problem. Someone's like, well, here's your answer. Boom, next step. I actually enjoy it because, roll back a bit, I got my bachelor's in psychology because I started in engineering. I do not have the personality for engineering. Good at math and science, bad at the advanced math and science. Gifted student, went to college, not that great. Weed out courses at Purdue, not that great. So I went to psychology because I like to solve problems, but more of like a interpersonal problem.
Okay.
So then I went to work in psychology, and I worked in a mental health institute up in Lafayette called Riverbend Hospital. It might go by a different name now. Did that for a year. Fun. Lots of fun. I say that with like 40% sarcasm. It was very interesting. But I'm pretty sure that's where most of my hair went. Because 90% of the time, everyone sleeps and it's pretty chill. And then 10% of the time, it was the worst night of your life. Because you get people who do not want to sleep. And people who like to yell. Or part of the mix of the two is people who are locked in the hallway who are just riding the Ghostbusters car, the Ectoplasm 2, 1?
Ecto-1.
The
Ecto-1.
yeah.
Over like China and checking out like puppies and stuff. Like they're completely not grounded and it's fun, but also like it's 3 in the morning and I'm tired. So I transferred out of that into case management, which was also more of a lateral move, stress-wise. Oh my goodness.
We should have a little, notch up here saying, oh.
Your phone's loud.
Sam did it.
Yeah.
I blame you.
Start putting a little thing up there.
I was just checking to make sure we were going on Twitch, which we are. Okay, good. And by the way, it said from Ford Fitch 42 says, "Hey John and Alex, how's it going?"
Smooth.
Ford. Hey, nice to meet you.
Not Fort.
No, Ford.
Ford. I get a lot of letters for Ford.
Ford Fitch went to school with him in Las Cruces, New Mexico.
Oh.
Yeah. He'll actually should be coming up. Verify this for me. You're coming up to Gen Con here in a week, 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Gen Con's in 2 weeks.
Yeah. Gen Con is in 2 weeks.
In September. They had to postpone it a month?
They did on purpose, yeah.
Yeah.
Just to give it better chance for nothing to be happening like Delta or Mu variant.
I know. We're not. We're encroaching another surge.
Well, yes, but at the beginning of August, we were on the uptick.
We're still going.
We're still going.
So what you're saying, you wanted that to ramp up faster. Okay, gotcha.
Like a roller
The
coaster.
people that go to Gen Con are not the kind of people that...
Well, Ford is
I
one of those
disagree.
fellows that's going to Gen Con. Says, "Yes, I am."
Awesome.
Cool.
On your way up or back, stop on by. You know where to find me. Have any questions for either of us, feel free to ask. You can watch us on Twitch or YouTube. And this will be as a podcast tomorrow on Anchor, Spotify, Beaker, Google Cast, and a couple others I can't remember the name of right now. Realcast.
That's fun.
Yeah.
Wasn't
Ford,
expecting that.
Yeah, I know. As soon as I found this, I found Anchor. So Anchor.fm. Thank you very much. You basically take your podcast there, and they distribute it for you.
I think my podcast is on that too.
Yeah.
Well, Ford says, "Doing my thing with Zoe again and helping out other friends."
Sweet.
Love it.
Sweet. Zoe is basically Dead Gentleman and Zombiophilia, something Dark Side. They're a game producer, film producers and stuff. They've done things like Gamers, Demon Hunters. They've done games on that. They have a couple other shows and web series out right now. Really interesting and great people to work with. So.
I remember when Gamers came out. I got it at Gen Con. I watched that way too many times.
Have you seen Gamers 2?
Not yet.
Darkness Rising. That one's
no.
awesome too.
Oh.
The first one has a special place, even though its level of immaturity or naivete is there. But it actually looks like a full-scale professional production compared to their first movie called Demon Hunters, which we're not here to talk about them. We're here to talk to you.
I was like, Gamers. I think I've seen Gamers.
Yeah.
Is that the D&D one?
Yeah. So you have the people at the
Like
table
behind
at
the body
college.
of dead bards?
That's Darkness Rising.
Okay, I have seen
Yeah,
that. I've seen
yeah.
both of those.
Hide behind the pile of dead bards. Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I'm glad to be 2 degrees from that.
Sweet. Yeah.
Dope.
Nice.
So, what was I saying? I was talking about case management.
Yes.
Yeah, so pretty much psychiatric case management. It's overworked, underpaid. You get to meet lots of interesting people, help people with their problems. But I have a problem where I take people's problems home with me. So I didn't sleep very well because it's like, man, I gotta get this guy his kids back. I don't know what's going on.
Excuse me. What are you doing with those problems? And can I borrow them?
I'm gonna just take them with me, and then when I clock out, I'm just still gonna think about how to get you a house or food or whatever. And so when I was talking with a lot of people, one, learned I like discussing sexual health issues with people because sexual trauma is rampant. And the other bit is that I like building therapeutical rapport with people. And that's just a lot of fun, just kind of get to know people, help them through really tense situations. I'm all about that. Bring to the main point of my job is now, for 15 minutes, someone walks into my office, I get to walk them through a very stressful situation, get to know them, get to learn a lot about them, and then they leave. And then I don't have to worry about their problems anymore. Problem? Like, yeah, sure, check answered, right? But on the other hand, like, get to meet cool people, and then they're not worried about it. And then it's like the answer comes up of, hey, your test is reactive, so we're worried about whether or not you have HIV antibodies for real or not. Still get to do my job, and then I get to pass them off to case managers.
Yeah.
So it's like it's like half of just a lot of like, and then also I get the other half of my job of just giving people the talk, the birds and bees talk about like STIs and stuff, and get paid to do it, and they get to ask me fun questions. I get to answer fun questions. I love questions. I'm all about questions. I went to school I'm back in school to answer questions.
Yeah, well, we're going to lead up to that. You just started your graduate course, right?
Yeah. I have a master's in sociology with a focus of gender and sexuality, which is from the University of Amsterdam. They don't have
we were going to get to that too.
Yeah, they don't have a sports team I know of, but now I'm back in. I use a public health program, starting with the graduate in sexual reproductive health certificate, which will then transfer right into next fall being the master's in public health. And I can do those side by side. I'll get 2 very expensive pieces of paper paid for by my job.
Nice.
And then I get to freelance giving people the talk for money. And so it's been like, hey.
I have a piece of paper. You have to pay me to talk to you.
Well, it's more I'm a qualified person as opposed to just a dude who's like, hey, you want to know about the birds and bees, but your parents are a little nervous to tell you about the birds and the bees?
I read 3 articles on Facebook. I'm qualified.
Sorry. I will strangle someone if I hear that again. That's a beef I have with my job, or just, some guy's sitting there eating a sandwich during a presentation. He's like, yo, is COVID pneumonia real? And I'm like, do you have COVID pneumonia? He's like, guy at the hospital said I did. I'm like, put your mask up.
But I got my ivermectin.
This is before that.
I know.
This is before the horse paste.
He's sitting there with a shot glass of bleach. I'm fine.
Oh my God, it was like, I was like, why are you in here? Go! You're dying! Your lungs are turning to mush. Go! Also, yes, but go!
Have you seen some of the autopsies of people who've died that had the full-blown... Oh my God.
Yeah, were their organs melt? Yeah, it's really great.
I work for IU Health. Or rather, I work alongside IU Health for like our own kind of thing, but I get my IU Health writes my checks and has my name badge and stuff. But yeah, so we have a video every week called Making Rounds. Good name. And the president of the region, Brian Shockley, gives us updates on everything that has been going on for the past week. So COVID rates, nurses, all that. And they haven't shown anything gruesome, but the resources are available, and I have looked into it. It is devastating, the things it does.
And you say they do basically put together a monthly film?
Weekly?
No. Weekly?
It's a weekly thing where he's kind of like, he just sits in front of like a IU Health thing.
Oh, okay.
And he is very nice.
I was kind of thinking there would be like, well, here's access to it. Here's a small video, just teaser with censor bars in front. But, that'd be too interesting. I guess.
They're far too clinical, understandably. I would love to do that, though. It's like, they can't show you this. You're going to buy a ticket for the whole seat, and all you'll need is the edge. Sunday. See the effects of COVID on the human body.
Watch as I take the scalpel and drag it across this dead man's chest. Who
loves the white cut? Why not? But no.
Or would you like to see Indigo Girls? Sorry.
I'm a professional.
After this, we'll be watching Cannibal Holocaust.
Oh my God. So yeah, that's pretty much what I do, and I love it. And I intend to do it for another at least 5 years while I get my master's. While they pay for it.
What's the plan after the 5 years?
Probably going to someplace else in the country that isn't Indiana. Probably not Ohio, statistically not.
Because you are native, right?
I am from Indianapolis, yes.
Yes. So, yeah, I don't blame you. We have several roads. I mean, that's a circle city for a reason, and everybody's pointing out.
Yeah.
So.
All roads lead to construction. And then, yeah, so my main, like, goal right now is, like, please do not die in Indiana. Go someplace you want to be. And so it's probably going to be one of the coasts.
And die there.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to die somewhere.
Right.
If it's in space, that'd be fun.
That would be pretty cool.
I was not intending that. But, yeah.
Who knows what the future holds?
Pretty much. I wasn't expecting to be here 5 years ago, and then 5 years before that I was in school. Who would have known?
Which brings us to Amsterdam.
Yes.
So,
So,
tell us a little bit about Amsterdam.
Amsterdam. Awesome.
Yeah, we actually had a story about Amsterdam last week.
Really?
Because Jordy, the glassblower who was here, actually got invited to do a glassblowing event out in Amsterdam.
That's cool.
And I told him he needed to bring me back a rock. He's like, a rock? He's like, don't worry. When you see it, you'll know exactly which one it is. So he goes out there. Long story short, he's in a brothel that was also a cannabis store. And on the ground is a...
Well, it's like the corner basement of a brothel.
Yeah.
Where
In the red light district?
Yeah.
Or the coffee shop?
Yeah.
Because they don't sell coffee in coffee shops there?
Yeah, and he found a little chunk of the brick, and I've got that sitting at home now.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
So, the piggyback off of that, Jinx, one time when they were there, independently, for a school trip, the big triangle, the monument for the LGBT stuff, the equality triangle, got vandalized, and so they picked up a piece of that granite, and we have it. So I don't know if that's a crime or not, but I know statutes of limitations do apply.
What is it about people from Indiana and taking rocks away from Amsterdam? Wait a minute.
I don't know.
Well, see, my thing isn't Amsterdam.
This is 2 for 2 suddenly.
See, mine isn't from Amsterdam. It's like, if you go on a trip, it can be anywhere. So Sam, next time you go on a trip, you'll be out there and you'll see a little rock on the
I do
floor.
like fossil hunting.
And you'll go,
in
hey,
places.
John will like that rock, and then you'll bring it home to me, and it'll go up on my little shelf.
Look at
So
this.
I know
Same
what to
thing.
bring you back.
This
Yes.
weak-ass piece of
We
ammonite.
hear about that.
Well, this all started with a friend of ours in Florida. He's like, well, when you and Gavin go to get married in New Orleans, find a rock. You'll know what it is when you see it. So there we are, we're walking in French Quarter. Somebody's having the slate removed off their house, and there's a pile of it on the side of the sidewalk. We brought home 6 flats of slate off of a roof of somebody's house.
You know that shit's haunted, right?
Even more reason to take it.
Every brick in New Orleans is haunted.
Well, you want to know the best thing about that trip was we went on one of those ghost tours, right? And how does this ghost tour start? Hi, everybody. I'd like to thank you. Welcome to our ghost trip. We're going to tour the whole area. Just so you know, last time I did this, right across the street, a guy was murdered. Now, if you look at the house...
Now look over here real quick.
Last time someone was murdered. This time, who knows?
Right. So I was like, yeah, that's the way to start a ghost tour. So.
People be dying every day. Most of the ones that we see, though, in the afterlife, wear very, very old clothes of a very specific era.
And how come we don't have dinosaur ghosts?
Well, to be fair, they would be rather hard to see.
Why?
They're very low, under the earth.
Some of them would be above.
That would be
I mean, all sorts of things. You have the earth is building, the earth is constantly eroding, so it could be anywhere. Right now, we should technically be underwater. If you're around dinosaur time.
Okay, there are so many pieces to unpack. Like, all the dinosaur time is like 9 different time regions.
Yeah.
Oh, you're only
Millions
talking,
of
what,
years?
280 million years?
Right.
That ended 65-ish million years
you got-
ago.
Did you see the part of my resume where paleontology is not on it?
No, that's
I'm not
fine.
worried about paleontology. We're talking about ghosts.
Okay, I would argue both of those are semi-related.
Where is the
Because-
where's the Native American ghost?
That's a great question.
Yeah. They're always some white guy who's here in a train and his cowboys or something running through your front yard. It's never, oh, well, there's a bear who died here 200 years ago shitting in my living room.
Do you think that white ghosts gentrified the afterlife and pushed out all the minority ghosts?
Yes, I do.
The sequel to Beetlejuice is real, and it involved real estate.
So,
Still, again, perfect sequel.
So it's all Europeans' fault again. Yeah, all right.
Once again,
We'll do that.
it's the Victorians colonizing the afterlife.
Could you see it? Oh, we're sorry, no Neanderthal ghosts here. Get out. Yeah,
They can't afford it.
That's right.
The property taxes are too high.
Sorry, Pharaoh, you got to stay on that side of the Nile.
I mean, the only reason the pyramids are not in a British museum is because they're very heavy.
It's all
That's
funny
true.
and sad because it's true.
Yes, because it's true.
It's funny because it's devastatingly true. Speaking of colonists, the Dutch.
So, I feel like we're leaving into an Austin Powers joke here, but go ahead.
It basically is. I was somehow selected to be in the Master's in Sociology program. It was 26 people from all over the world. So I had a lot of fun talking with people from Qatar, Iran, Scotland, New York, but upstate New York. This girl,
Rochester.
I don't know.
Oh,
She
okay.
just talking to her filled me with livid. She's the kind of person who, this is her own quote, she went to Singapore for 6 months and really found herself. I hate her. Of all the people I met on that trip, the Americans were the ones who were just like, God, can any of you just be a little more grounded? Because like when you're from upstate New York, you don't really understand people problems. Like, I'm from Indiana, so I understand, like, racism. I kind of understand, like, poverty. I get it. I eat ravioli out of the can. I don't really understand the appeal of couscous. But, yeah.
Does anybody understand the appeal of couscous?
The rich. I think. It's
they
one
can
of those,
have it.
It's one of those grains that was grown in Africa as, like, a staple crop, and then rich people found out now the people who grow it can't afford to eat it. Much in the same way as quinoa.
Quinoa.
Yes, and acai, and all those other fun, fancy words that are basically just, this belonged to someone else, and then we really liked it.
Acai berries.
Yeah. So, yeah, I met lots and lots of interesting people and got to learn a whole lot about the history and, like, historical context about sex. Not just the act, but the concept of biological sex, the concept of gender, the concept of, like, you know, what sociology is. Because, like, when I applied, I just saw, like, the sex and gender bit, and I'm like, chick! There's no way Ipswich going to accept me with my 2.7 college GPA. Now, apparently I wrote a really good, you know, statement of purpose, because they're like, this Hoosier kid, we like him. This straight white man from Indiana, wherever that is. Favorite bit. Not only just being unapologetically American in college, just everyone's just like, you know, like Belgian kids, like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I'm dipping my croissant in this tomato soup. And they're like, but you're taking the savory, you're mixing it with the salty. I'm like, yep!
Do you ever introduce them to anything like, say, Indiana's beverage, state beverage, water?
Oh, I introduced them to the power of endless fields of soy and corn.
Sweet.
Yeah, 50% of our main staple crop is corn.
Yeah.
And then soy constituting about 48% of the other bits.
About 75% of both of those go just to livestock feed.
Which is cool.
Yeah.
I like livestock. They're cute and edible.
Yes.
They have the superpower of turning grass into beef.
Into other food. Into better food.
Or bacon. Or
Yeah.
all kinds of other things.
Into leather and glue. Also edible.
Yeah.
So yes, that was a very interesting prospect because I didn't understand sociology. I was in psychology, and then it's like, well, sociology is like applied psychology. You just look at society and like the way it behaves and the way it views things, and then you kind of like understand the trends of where that kind of came from. So it's like, you know, we didn't understand what sex was, like biological sex, until like the 18th century, because the Enlightenment happened, and then a bunch of like rich white Germans were just like, what is up with the penis though? Did you ever like look at like, because like the original theory when they drew pictures, like Da Vinci drew pictures, they're like, is the vagina must be just an inverse penis, like they're the exact same structure, just like one's whoop inside out. And it's like, so what purpose does that serve? We don't question God though, that's just how it's done. So like a lot of like the whole concept of like the difference between men and women didn't exist because we were trying not to die. We were trying really hard to just make food. And so it's like, you know, the hunter-gatherer, you know, myth is just like, no, everyone went out. Because if you didn't go out, you died.
Yeah.
Everyone just did what they could, and people who couldn't do much didn't go far. And then they did their own stuff. Because, it's like, you had to. And then they figured out, like, steam and stuff. And they're like, let's just look at microscopes and look at cells and Yeah, there must be a clear delineation between these two things. Like, yeah, we can talk about breasts and not breasts, but like, it just everything we understand is just the stayover from 300 years ago when we just decided this is what happened, and it's kind of just like in psychology there's something called the anchoring principle, which is basically like the best way I know to describe it is if someone wants to offer you to buy something, and I'm like, that's $12, and you're like, well, I want to negotiate, you're gonna be around $12. You're not gonna say 50 clearly. No, like it's gonna be like, well, 15? Nah, 10. Like it's always gonna be around. So we kind of have this anchoring principle about like gender, or just like it was established long ago, and we haven't really been able to look too hard into it. And anyone who did look hard into it, it's kind of like, what's wrong with that guy? It's not that big of a deal. And then it suddenly became a big deal because the Nazis happened, and they burned a lot of research. So we went like that Library of Alexandria Part 2. We just lost a lot of ideas about this, and we're now rebuilding it, and we have the power of the internet, where people can like be themselves in a way without like being persecuted because nobody really knows who's who. You can just be yourself and see like, oh, that term actually explains a lot about this, because otherwise beforehand people had to go to the library and see books about it, and how's that gonna happen? So yeah, long story short, we're still trying to figure it out, and everyone who's just kind of like, this is a new thing, doesn't understand. We had the words for it, and then they got erased from the cultural lexicon because it was weird, because Puritanism is weird.
Do you think we're trying to, I can't say the term we. Do you think there's a force trying to push back that sort of Puritanism currently?
Trying to push back the Puritanism?
Bring it back.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. That's very apparent.
Oh, come on, that's not a loaded question. Keep going.
Yeah, from common cultural context, you just see a lot of people just... I saw a really nice documentary. It was called Flattening the Earth. And it made a lot of sense. Let me summarize it, because that's what I like to do. So, the entire premise is that there is a lot changing in the world right now. And a lot of it has to do with the access to information all over the world from any time. I have a piece of rock in my pocket, covered in glass, filled with electricity, that can talk to space. And I can look up anything and everything that I want to. Will I get the right information?
No.
Maybe. It's a big maybe. And not everyone has the skills to be able to decipher it. I went to school, and one of the things I learned was like epistemology and all these fun fancy words. It means I'm pretty good at figuring out what's more accurate and citing sources and verifying research, because I had to do my own research. And I had to prove I could do my own research. That's how you write a thesis. That's how you earn your master's. But for some people this is difficult, because the American education system is flawed. It's very flawed. Gas throughout the roof. No way! Nobody learns about philosophy. And if you do learn about philosophy, it's in college. That's where I started in philosophy. There's a Philosophy 101, and it's done by this very smart man who's been doing it for God knows how long. I forget his name, but he told me that Berkeley is not spelled Berkeley. It's pronounced Barkley. That's all I remember, because I was a freshman and I was just overwhelmed with engineering classes.
That explains the 2.7.
Yeah, because I almost got kicked out of college. I got a 1.88 in engineering before I was like, this is not for me. I brought it back up to a 2.7. Go me. But yes, back to the premise, which is that since we're kind of overwhelmed by all this new information, all the time, everything's constantly changing, it's like, how do you even prove that GPS works? Do you know from the bottom, how GPS works? There's a thing in space.
I have basic concept of how it works.
Right. There's a satellite in space. It talks to other satellites, and it basically does a lot of math on a sphere, which is already tough math. Which, by the way, since we did a Cthulhu thing, I want to let you know, non-Euclidean geometry is just any geometry on a rounded surface. Yeah. So Lovecraft didn't know shit of what he was talking about.
Oh God,
kills me.
Did not.
Kills me every time. But so we do a lot of non-Euclidean geometry to figure out where our phones are in relation to other things in space.
Yeah.
That's a lot of information.
And
for people.
that's skimming the surface of how that's done.
Right.
You're not even getting the fact that the speed difference of the two objects, you have to calculate for that.
You have to calculate for the fact that gravity is so intense around an object this massive that it literally drags space. So you have to account for how much the drone or the satellite is moving, but also not moving at the same time, or is literally jumping a long thing. It's there are rocket scientists, and they do a lot of math. I'm not a math man. I'm a concepts man. That's what I do. So there's that. We're talking about gender. We're talking about sex. We're talking about food. We're talking about whether or not coffee makes you live. Does wine help your heart or not? Like all these things, you get a lot of mixed information. And for some people, it's just like it's so much easier just to believe that the Earth is flat. There's like one overarching, government that decides the narrative, that just puts out, this is what you're allowed to say on the internet, this is what you can see, this is what you can't see. Mark Zuckerberg is there. He's part of this group.
And they're all Masons.
Like the lizard man thing is, possible, but we're just gonna say like that's people are like they're more focused on the fact that there's a cabal of the elite that decide what we can and can't know, and that they're being constrained. And it's easier to believe that the world is flat. It is easier to believe that, there are two sexes. Like biology has said this. 6th grade biology has said this. Talk to any biologist that that studies, insects or whatever, and it's like sexual dimorphism is a range. It is. You can't, the delineation between what is a male bug versus what is a female bug is usually decided by which one lays the eggs. And even then, the line gets a little weird in the middle there, because bugs are weird, and so are mammals, and all these, like fish. What even is a fish? You cannot tell me what a fish is?
Well, think about what recently happened with that group of female sharks.
A nursery? What's up?
Yeah, so these, in isolation, this group of female sharks
the
spontaneously, boop, yeah.
Yeah, I remember that, because they just, like, somehow got viable sexual information to make other sharks, but they didn't. They were all
that cosmic ray hit just the right spot.
Right.
Sharks are weird. Sharks have been around forever, and they're so weird.
There's a podcast I listen to called "There's No Such Thing as a Fish," and it literally starts with it's in the Oxford Dictionary of aquatic science that says that paragraph 2, there is no such thing as a fish, because an eel is no similar to a jellyfish, is no similar to like a mahi-mahi. Like, sharks are not distinctly similar to anglerfish. Like, there's all these things that we just kind of assume, like, gills? Tail? Must be fish. What about an eel? Yes. Crabs? No!
And everything's turning into crabs.
Like, yeah, that's carcinization. I do know lots of things. But this is all to basically throw out that the world is extremely complicated, and there are people who just are like, it's so much easier to believe that things are, like, a way, and there's, like, all these new revolutionary people coming in and just like, no, everything you understand is wrong, and you're a bad person for believing what you've been taught, because you got B's in school, and you proved that by regurgitating what you were told, and how could that have changed? So fundamentally true were the things that we learned 300 years ago, that the premise of science updating this was something so fundamentally weird.
Yeah.
There are people actively trying to flatten the Earth. That it's easier for their brain to believe that this is that school shootings are so hard to consider, to really comprehend the science and sociology and psychology behind what drives someone to shoot up a school, and then multiple people to do it a year in like one country.
Right, one.
There's no way to stop this, says only country where this regularly happens. Like, thank you, The Onion, but like that's where we are.
But,
and
yeah, that's too good of a story to be true.
And so people are just like they just are not equipped to update the logs in their head of just like, we've been using singular they since like the 1400s. Like Shakespeare used singular they, but their English teacher in 2nd grade said they is for a group of people, and they said yes, it's true, unless somebody forgets their phone, like at a restaurant, and they're like, hey, somebody left this here, I hope they find it.
Yeah.
But
who
they
are
just don't.
they? Yeah.
But we are a, what's the way? The brain is a 5-pound ball of jelly, roughly the size of 2 fists put together.
3 pounds, I think, but irrelevant.
It can. Yeah. Mine's very heavy because I'm dense.
Explain the thin hair. Yeah.
But yeah, we can contemplate the cosmos, but we also are basic. We are animals. We are filled with logical fallacies. We're filled with all sorts of just kind of biases that we don't really, even when you're made aware of them, you're still a victim to them. As I have a confirmation bias. You want to hear it?
Sure, yes.
I think everyone who drives a minivan with an Ngawi trust plate's a bad driver. Because every single time I get like almost run off a road, or somebody who like does a turn without a turn signal runs a red is a minivan with an Ngawi trust plate.
I can confirm that's not biased. You're correct.
But like that's every single time I see it happen, my brain's like, I knew it. But every single time I get cut off by someone who's not that, I don't remember it. Or all the other people, all the other minivans that don't pull bad shit on the road, I don't remember.
It's always that one.
It's just
plate.
Whenever it happens, I'm like, it's them again, and I need to do a real study where I have a dry erase marker on my window, and I can draw tallies of like how many times someone like was a bad driver and they drove like a Ford Focus. But
the Bureau of Motor Vehicles does not approve putting a whiteboard on your windshield.
No, I just have glass.
Just need a whiteboard.
If there's
dry
people
erase,
who put
we're
like
fine.
that like Obama was the devil on their back window, I can use dry erase marker on my driver.
Ah.
Take that.
That's right.
Shield versus
Suck it,
back
lib.
window. Do you feel owned?
Yeah. I'll call the burn ward, but they don't have beds available because of COVID.
Oh.
That hurts.
Beautiful.
I actually have to be volunteered for hospital duty because we are understaffed. Yeah.
How's that going?
I have an autoimmune disease, so we're trying to find another arrangement.
Oh.
Yeah.
It might involve helping at vaccine clinics.
Hopefully that'll be better.
I've done it before.
Yeah.
That's actually the first half of the year was me working at our vaccine clinic at the Medical Arts Building. We did that for 6 months. Our site gave out over 70,000 doses.
Damn.
We worked real hard. Some days we had 1,100 people in a day over the course of 10 hours. It was madness.
Nice.
But now it's going to be I always imagine like we kind of plateaued because there's the number of people who want to get it, who have already gotten it, and the number of people who don't want to get it and are forced to get it. And then you like wherever that number meets, there's also the people who are just like, no!
I'm not gonna get it. Yes.
Man, I really peaked that red real hard. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, can you do that one more time, just for the folks at home again, one more time?
I could. Do
Yep.
you really want me to?
3, 2, 1.
No!
There we go.
Yes.
Hi, voice actor.
Margo
Check. I'll take that check in the mail.
Sorry, we don't pay for the show because nobody gets paid for the show. We're all volunteers here.
It's a lot of fun.
We'd like to get paid though. Hey, go ahead, hit that like and subscribe. Ha! Fit that one in. Ring the bell. Ding, ding, ding. Whatever.
Smooth.
I know, just like
80 grit.
60.
Nah, it's a little bit smoother than that.
Okay, I'll accept that. 80.
120 at best.
Yeah, at best.
So yeah, that's a lot of that. Man, I've been talking a lot.
Well, that's what the show is for.
I'm glad you asked a lot of questions.
Yeah.
You mentioned your Instagram earlier.
Yeah.
You want to tell the audience what your Instagram handle is and
Oh God, what is
all
it?
that?
The Fort is real.
Is it at the Fort is real?
The Fort is real.
That's also my Twitter, which I don't use.
Yeah. I wasn't sure if you wanted me to actually post that out there for anything.
Oh, no, it's fine. If anyone
Okay.
follows it, they're going to basically see a lot of pictures of miniatures I've built and painted and my cats.
Yeah.
When did you get started painting minis and all that?
Oh, God.
The nerd comes out. Wait, that happens on the show anyway.
Decades ago. I'd say I started with miniature painting like in my early teens because Gundam Wing happened.
Okay.
My parents bought me Gundams and I didn't do a good job because I was one of those kids who's like, it is built, I have succeeded, as opposed to, I carefully sanded the sprues. And I
Wait, you have to sand the sprues?
You don't got This is America. You can do whatever the fuck you want. But I basically went through and one of my post series is like I took apart one of my my 20-year-old models and bless you,
Thank you.
rebuilt it and like cleaned it and repainted it as opposed
I
to
remember you starting those at the beginning of the whole shutdown thing. Yeah.
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 And then I did it and it's done and it's like cool. I also when I got a career I was able to afford Kickstarters and then I kickstarted like the Horizon Zero Dawn game and the Dark Souls board game and the Devil May Cry board game, all from the Steam Forged games, which is great because they do really good minis, but also I have a lot of minis. And then Bard Song's coming out in like a couple months, and I'm gonna have more.
More minis.
I'm gonna have more. And I haven't.
Good thing you're not
run,
in the 40K.
I haven't. I haven't run a live tabletop session since it was early March of 2020 because I was we went to a place and we did it and then shutdown happened and I haven't done it since. We tried I think one virtual session and it was, I would argue it's more of a it was not a lot of dice rolling, on more of a lot of just kind of improv comedy,
Mm-hmm.
which is kind of tabletop gaming, but not a lot of the gaming bit, just a lot of playing
Right,
with
right.
friends. And so I want to get back into the campaign that started in like 2015.
Does anybody remember where they were?
In 2015?
No, in the campaign.
Oh, yeah. They do. Because everyone's like, can we get back into that? And I'm like, sure, when my lungs won't melt. Gladly. So yeah, that's a lot of what I've been doing. It's just kind of painting, and then that ADD concept of hyperfixation.
Mm-hmm.
That's like all of my hobbying. So like I did that, and then I got commissioned by somebody who's like the vice president of like another AIDS service organization up in Indianapolis. It's called like Life Care, something like that. And they, you'll enjoy this because everyone will enjoy this. This guy was one of the HIV educators, so he taught me how to do my job. And they have those, penis models to teach you how to put condoms on stuff. He bought his stash from Cirilla's in 1983. And he really likes the model, but people keep stealing them. So he's down to 5. And he's like, hey. And like he told me, he's like, man, it's a real pity. And I was like, I know how to cast resin. I know how to make silicone molds. Can I have one of those? How many do you want? And he goes, how many can you make? And I'm like, that's a recursive question. How many do you want? He goes, here, make as many as you kind of can, like as much as you can afford, and then we'll get this taken care of. I'm like, cool. And so like I did the math, and I was like, yeah, using this resin, using this silicone, using this, I can make you, $14 a fake dick.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, okay. But then the pandemic happened. He's like, well, we don't have a lot of funding right now. I'm like, all right, well, I'll just sell this mold I made to see if there's actually proof of concept for a year and change. And then Positive Link's 30th anniversary happened in June, and he was there. And I'm like, dude, you're here. How many do you want? Are you still down? He goes, oh yeah, I'm totally down. I'm like, cool. And he's like, do you want me to just write you a check now? I'm like, no. How many do you want? As many as you can make. I'm like, done. I made 19. I can't. I didn't post them on there because one, Instagram's terms of service, but two, like, it's technically like a trademark dick shape from Cirilla's from 40 years ago. So I don't know if there's like any kind of law about that, but I did reproduce this in lots of fun colors because I had
Why
them.
not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What sucks is that when you pour urethane resin and you like mix a good color, it's still got that kind of clear look, so it looks like the tastiest Gatorade you've ever seen. And it's like you're making Jello shots that will literally kill you. And so like it was like clear, 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 clear. That looks like a good blue. Too bad it's just a dick. I can't make anything else. I don't have any cabochon molds. I don't have anything else. They're just dicks. And so I made 19. I have crafted 19 identical dicks. And I put them in a box, and I shipped them up there, and he gave me $300 American, and it was awesome. But just, like, I did that, and then...
So have you ever considered being a dick peddler for...
Any other reason?
Yeah.
If I'm not using anyone else's intellectual property, yes.
Right.
But the other thing is just, I find it funny, because I was like, hey, bud, if anybody starts stealing these, tell them they can't use them, because this is not, like, human-grade material. This is, like, a 1-hour cure resin. Like, it's relatively toxic and will probably leach out. So if people want one of these for their desk or whatever, they can email me, and I still have the molds. I can make them one for $15 plus shipping.
You heard that first here, radioactiveshack.com. Actually, you can do that one, timeofyourhalflife.com, or email us at radioactiveshack@timeofyourhalflife.com, which is down here. And then we can send the orders to there, and we'll only take 15%.
But yeah, so I finished all that, and I got it done because the urethane resin is really reactive to humidity. So, like, if it's really humid, it'll just bubble. And so you just get, like, this really cool, cloudy, like, bubbly effect, and also ruins the structural integrity and surface imperfections. But I was like, it's not been humid for a bit because it's just been ungodly hot. So I got them all done, and now it's like, cool, what's next? Woodworking. If anyone's familiar with Final Fantasy XIV, there's a dungeon called Praetorium. Are you familiar with Pray Every Day? Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I am making wall plaques out of this nice live edge walnut that says "Eat, Pray, Love," with, but "pray" spelled with the Praetorium, and it's got Gaius's helmet on there. So I'm learning all the process of treating and making look extremely beautiful live edge wood. And so I've got sandpaper and a polyurethane and shellac, and I got up to 450. It's up there. And then shellac and then wax and then.
If you need any finer grade sandpaper, I've got some 3000 grit in my house.
See, that's too much. That's way too much grit.
That's polishing at that point.
That's what I use it for.
I could use that for
smithing and such.
Yeah, when I did jewelry making, which is another thing I have the tools to do. I don't have a soldering torch or anything, but I do have the tools.
My kiln died. I was doing casting. Speaking of, go to my Patreon where you can help fund my new kiln.
Yeah, I took metalworking in college, and I was like, I still have all the tools, so I can still make pendants and stuff. And it's like, cool, yeah, and then it just keeps moving around. So it's like, what comes next? I have no idea. It's probably going to be voice acting again. I haven't done my podcast in like 3 or 4 months because my co-host, his cat is dying, and it sucks. And so it's like, he's like, I also, I have a kid now, so we're going to get this balanced out. We'll try to record in September. I'm like, we can try. I'll aim for October, bud. I love you. You're cool. I don't say you're unreliable. I just know how life is.
Yeah.
I'll see you in October.
Let's hope that works out.
Yeah.
What's the name of that podcast?
Modern Metamorphosis. It is a podcast about transformation elements in modern media. So if you basically we don't cover it started with adult stuff, any kind of body morphs or anything like that, and then we kind of just hey, there's transformation elements in Sword in the Stone with Mad Madam Mim and such. And we talked about Mortal Kombat Annihilation. We just basically watched movies, and then we started talking about books because I remembered I can read. I only read academically because there's a distinct purpose. And also Terry Pratchett. That's the only 2 things I can read.
The sad part is there will no longer be any more Terry Pratchett.
It's a pity, but it also means I can finally catch up on the Discworld series.
Yeah. I've done that.
Oh, I haven't. I've read 3/5 of the Mort saga, the Death Saga, and so
I've read all of the Discworld, several of them more than once.
That's cool.
And I just haven't really picked any of them up in a while because it's been one of those. Well, it's over. So, great stories if you ever check it out. Terry Pratchett.
Do.
Yes.
He's so good.
Yep.
I was also just really amused by the fact that I went from soul music to Slaughterhouse-Five by Kurt Vonnegut.
That is definitely an interesting switch there. Soul music is Kurt Vonnegut.
It was a jarring. It was because lots of people recommend Vonnegut. He's from Indiana, and I hear he's incredibly interesting. The first time I read him was my first infusion treatment, where I almost passed out because IVs. I hate it. And it's also, you're in an infusion center, which is filled with people who are getting chemotherapy. They're all really, really sick, and there's me who's just I have Crohn's. I'm young and I'm wearing a badge like everyone else is wearing. Even healthcare people get sick, I guess. Anyway, what's this guy? Oh, so World War II happened, and now that's fucked. All right, I'm very depressed. I haven't touched it since.
I actually like Slaughterhouse-Five, but since I'm not from here, I read that in the 80s. Rather enjoyed it. Found the film that was made on it was an interesting adaptation that stayed relatively close. They still tried to keep that whole non-linear storytelling where they basically jump around all over the place. But it is about basically breaking that timeline and being able to remove yourself and go to any part of your life you want to and revisit it as many times as you want. So technically you never die. You have to.
Eventually.
But you can always go back and start over.
Wow.
You never change anything. You just get to watch it over again.
I mean, if I had to watch home movies of my life, which, by the way, I have not watched a home movie of my life in so long. Great.
Don't have any.
When you cut ties with your family, it's great. They like kids in cages. I don't. There were some very.
So your crib was upside down growing up.
Yes, I was trapped in a laundry basket of wings.
I know what you actually meant, but I just couldn't resist. So.
Yeah, there's been some very strong stances on human beings between us, and I was like, you know what? I don't got it, which is why I haven't been on Facebook since December.
Yeah,
because otherwise
I was gonna lose
my mind.
Yeah.
Because like the problem is like when you go to a school and you learn about all the big flaws of like society, like you learn how to analyze aspects of society, you learn about the science that kind of undercuts a lot of. You didn't
learn anything. You were indoctrinated by one of them libtards.
In Europe. Yeah, I got socialized healthcare for a year. It was pretty cool. I was a student. But they were talking about like, hey, so there's been some countries in Europe that have tried the wall thing with migrants because, you know, all of our countries are generally kind of connected. Mm-hmm. And so there's people coming from like one side of like Europe trying to go to another side of Europe. And so some places tried building walls. And then sociologists studied what happened. And they found out that walls don't work. And then America's like, yo, we're going to build the biggest wall. And it's going to be extremely impractical. And it will still not work. Because planes and boats and holes and
can't
literally...
tell us what doesn't work and what does work. We'll make it work or we won't.
And we'll find a way to make someone else pay for it. Oh, wait, we didn't. Yeah. So like, it was just like infuriating.
Didn't you love the ones like, oh, if you don't think walls don't work, how come you have them on your property? Like, really?
We have doors. Really? We have windows. Yeah. We have home security systems. Because walls don't stop people. We wear clothes, but then we still get sunburned, and it doesn't matter. Everything we understand as protection is like generally kind of complex.
Yeah.
Everything. Like the one thing I learned the most is like how you establish how you know a thing is incredibly important, and the other thing I learned is everything that we understand is way more complex than we understand it. Like we always attribute it to like quantum mechanics. And like
there's that word again.
Yeah, and muons and all those fun subatomic particles. Because you get like what makes up protons? Well, there's things that have spin. It's like this is deep. But then you go talk to like, well, what is testosterone really, right?
Right. Yeah.
And it's like, well, it's a chemical that is found in men. That's not true. Mm-hmm. It's found in women. Oh, and less? No. There's testosterone is like. It's responsible for kind of physiological differences, but psychologically there are periods where women have more testosterone from men, and that doesn't make them closer to men. It usually just means they're more confident. Like, I've been browsing through, because you've heard of like the whole alpha male, beta male thing, which is already based on like a flawed,
I know where you're going with that. Mm-hmm.
It's based on a flawed study about wolves in captivity, and how they kind of make these hierarchies, which if you look at humans in captivity, it's pretty close. Mm-hmm. It turns out being in captivity sucks. It is bad for the human and animal brain. Mm-hmm. And so you get a lot of things that are not generalizable to the outside world. But there is a whole sect of people who decide that there are grades of men based off of the Greek alphabet. And that shit tickles me to no end. Because you learn, like, one of the things I learned about historical context of sexuality and gender is that you learn, like, hey, remember the 1500s? No, I don't. But I remember in the 1700s, everyone who was fancy and manly in France wore high heels and frills and stuff. Like, to be masculine, to be, like, buff and hairy was seen as brutish. Yeah. It was like, that's, like, subhuman. Like, that you have to... Yeah, if you show that you do your own work, if you show that you do manual labor, you're not manly. Because real men have money and clothes dyes. And they play chess and croquet and shit. Like
don't forget the rings.
Oh, I cannot forget the jewelry.
Yeah.
Yo, that jewelry would be very real and very interesting when you really look at it. And then that the idea of like whether pink is masculine or blue is masculine shifted like in the 20s. Like it's very strange. So like these guys are like, I'm an alpha male. I fuck chicks. I don't ask questions. All this stuff. I'm like,
I'll wear camel.
Yeah, it's like, okay, hang on. So let's look. What is it that decides being manly? Because I have a beard. Mm-hmm. I'm balding, which is a sign that there's too much testosterone in my system, so it's frying my hair follicles. So that's pretty manly. I went to grad school, so I'm educated, manly, but in a social science, less manly. I wear button-ups. I get to talk about sex for a living.
Do you drive a truck?
I drive a Mazda.
Ooh!
That I got for 50% off. At under 500 miles. So either I'm a very good negotiator, or I got a really good lemon that's going at 18,000 miles right now. So I'm like trying to figure out where in the hierarchy I sit, because it's like, I get to do lots of things that are considered manly, but also at the same time are not manly, because I'm not masculine, I'm not manly, I'm not built. My voice is not of a lower timbre, but I do have a gym membership, and I do go to the gym.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, that's manly, and it's like, okay, so what does that put me? If I know the Greek alphabet at all, I'm either an epsilon or a gamma male. I know a sigma male is apparently like, I'm so outside of the spectrum. I'm the 13th letter of the Greek alphabet. Yeah, it's like, no, you're still in there. Like, I can't sit there and be like, oh yes, I'm totally an S male. That puts me outside of the alphabet. It's like, no, that's actually categorically false. So I like looking at it, because you just see all these people who are just like, no, you can only have manly sex, which is what, missionary with the lights on, lights off.
Off, under the covers.
For the purpose
at night,
of whatever.
With your eyes closed, no lube.
And you don't think about God once, not even once.
Unless you're sitting there going, I want a baby, or is that right?
I actually have no idea. I don't know the role of babies, because I know that if like dads take care of their babies, they're seen as taking on a matronly role. But they also had to make the baby, which means that they fucked.
Yeah.
They, like, what is this? They're doing a thing, but, like, at the same time, their life is being dictated by the fact that they're not doing what they're supposed to, but they're also being a parent. So there's a whole lot of contradiction that goes on, and it amuses and infuriates me to an equal degree. It's like, the more you learn about the world, the more you're like, how do planes work? Why? What are people doing? But why are people bitching about being in planes? Because they don't know how it works.
And satellites or balloons.
Or there's all the UFO stuff coming out.
Hey, we talked about that last time too. And nobody wanted to listen to my theory on that, but we'll talk about that later.
Is it just that it's unidentified, so it could be anything?
It's unidentified, and you're only looking at the perspective from the moving plane, so you don't think you're moving, so it makes whatever's on the screen look like it's moving really fast.
Right, because that's how acceleration works.
And it's all perspective. And
the further something is, the less it moves, because of ocular distance or ocular angles.
Or because of parallax, it can make it look like it's moving even faster than it really is.
Parallax is wild.
Yeah.
I also took astronomy.
By the way, just to call back earlier, this is now our fourth episode where Hollow Earth and Flat Earth have been mentioned unnecessarily, like out of nowhere.
High five, yes.
So
I'm glad to keep the chain going.
We're 4 for 4, I suppose. We're keeping that up.
Is Ford still on?
Yeah, Ford's still there. Says I like to see it that I am not on the geek alphabet spectrum. I'm just weird like that.
Ford, that's the man. Yeah.
I am on the geek or Greek, because the geek alphabet's
a complete.
Okay.
It says Greek alphabet spectrum.
Because I heard geek alphabet, which is Klingon.
I heard that too. I kind of figured that because
I apologize.
You know,
I did. Well,
but it fits though. I mean, come on, Ford,
I don't know.
Play the games and all that. We're nerds.
What
we're
are
geeks.
the phonemes in Klingon? Like, do we actually have like an alphabet with definable letters, or is it all just kind of like Romanji, where it's like one thing translated to be pronounced in English?
Well, considering you have the Tolkien languages.
Oh, all of them.
Yeah. Then you've got Klingon and all the other languages they've come up with, and who knows how many others. So I would have to say that
Klingon's like recognized by the UN and stuff, right?
Yeah.
That's a bit more than the Tolkien languages,
which is kind of surprising because I mean Tolkien's been that language has been around a lot longer than Klingon.
Yeah, but it's like way too complex.
Well, we either leave it as a full spectrum of who knows what letter you want to use, or you sit there saying, I'm so elvish, or it's just Klingon.
I read the Silmarillion, so like...
There's a $25,000
I'm better than you because I actually finished it.
if you give a video essay in Klingon, and a $5,000
All right.
scholarship if you
Court's out, Klingon it is.
an essay in Elven.
Well, I won't. I had a hard enough time learning German the 4 years I took it, and it only helped a little bit in Amsterdam because I don't know if you guys know anything about how Dutch is. Dutch is the wildest fucking language. Dutch is insane, and the only way I know how to describe it is because it's written. It's basically if English was written the way Germans spell things. So like, luckily I had some history in German, so I was able to kind of like. Because everyone speaks English, but none of the signs are in English. They're all in freaky-deaky Dutch. And so I was trying to figure out where Roters Island is. which, by the way, Rhode Island is not spelled remotely what you think Rhode Island is. But guess what? Island is how it is in Dutch. It's just spelled like I-J-L, like S-L-A-N-D, something. Like,
add in a couple consonants for
but
flavor.
like, I would, something I passed by every day was B-R-O-U-W-E-R-I-J-E.
Mm-hmm.
Brauerei. It was a brewery. Right? And you're like, when you start thinking, like, when you're just exposed to it, you're like, man, how do these people, it's like a joke language. It's like, how can I make a word harder? How can I make Wheel of Fortune fucking impossible? Buy every vowel and slap it in there, but also pronounce it because you're not French. But like, they're words like ice horn. It's like I-J-S, like H-O-R-N, ice horn. Do you know what that is? It's an ice cream cone. Because it's shaped like a horn.
Okay.
It makes total sense, but you're just like, what's up with this? You guys just decided these words. I know we made up all words.
So what's their perception of English then? I mean, considering English is,
Seeing how
let's
they
take a
all
little bit of
speak
everything
it.
of Europe and just go.
Yo, not even just Europe. English is like 3 languages in a trench coat that go into a back alley and beat up other languages for their participles. Like,
And that's why the French don't like English. But
yeah. Also,
we gave them wonderful words like hard drive.
like the way I learned about English, because when I took linguistics, because God, I took one of everything.
Yeah. How many general degrees do you have?
None. They're all very specific and don't have a lot of job potential. That English is all the inside words are French and all the outside words are Norse. So dirt, earth, ground, all that stuff is pretty like Germanic Norse.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get like foyer.
Ford says, could be the origin of the silent Q.
I hate Q. I hate Q as a letter almost as much as I hate C as a letter. Because anything C can do, there's other letters that can do it.
Yeah.
Which is why I also appreciate 1984, as a guy who's actually read it, is that they took that time to break down like what words would be like in the future if you just got rid of the boring ones.
Well, English has actually done that. They did get rid of several letters. If you look at the Mexican alphabet, they have the CH and the XS.
Oh, we got rid of the
things.
thorn!
Yeah.
Fuck yeah, I hate the thorn!
Yeah. We got rid of a lot of those things. We could whittle it down a little more, make it simpler. I don't see why not.
Oh, I just want to let everyone know. The thorn is that weird Y that people think means ye old. It's just, the thorn is just a TH, so it's the old. But you say ye because it's like, we see that it looks like a Y. But no, it's a thorn. I'm sorry. You've been doing
He's
it
not
wrong.
sorry.
I am not sorry. I do have an approximate knowledge of many things. And then Jinx will be like, when's our anniversary? And I'm like, December 11th.
This year.
It's the 11th.
Number.
It better be the 11th. I'll be so fucking pissed if it's not the 11th. December 11th.
Pissed or in trouble?
Not really in trouble. Jinx finds it more of a joke. I'll be upset with myself.
Oh, okay.
I'm not pissed at the calendar, although I am,
Mm-hmm.
because the Romans.
Romans or the Christians, yeah.
The Romans ruined the calendar because, like, September should be the 7th month. And
Well, yeah, they had to throw in their little leaders in there.
yeah, because, like, October is 8, but it's the 10th, and it's because of Julius Caesar and Augustus.
Right.
Those dead fuckers ruined it, and I bet you they ruined the Zodiac. Because there were 10 months.
Overly Sarcastic does a really good thing on the Zodiac, and they'll kind of tell you how it's screwed up.
I love it.
I'll just leave it at that, though.
Cool. I'm going to have to watch that
Yeah.
because I have lots of friends who are really into, like, astrology, which stole the good ology from astronomy. Fuckers. And, like, and I just, like, I have one coworker who's into that and is starting to get into crystals, and I'm like, if you learned anything about the stars, you would not care about this. But, like, it looks cool, and I guess it's a scorpion.
It makes me feel good.
It makes me feel better about predetermination in my life, so I have a little bit less control over things that I don't like. And I have more control over things I do like, and it explains all the shitty things that I do to people. But all my good traits are also valid, as opposed to I earned them through reinforcement by my peers, as is most behavior. Because if you do something shitty and you get punished for it, you usually stop doing it. But it has to be punished in a way that matters. Like one time I used to bully a kid, and then his brother punched me in the stomach, so I stopped bullying people. That's a true story. 6th grade. I don't remember that kid's name.
Oh, well, where's that manly list of yours? Gonna put that one on there.
When I got fucking decked like right here in the solar plexus, yeah, no, I earned that. And so yeah, I stopped picking on people for that, or rather, like that. Is it time, or is it not time?
Do you want to keep going? We leave it up to you. Yeah.
I could talk for hours, you know.
Obviously, yeah.
Yeah, so if nothing else, I have work tomorrow, but it's like scanning paperwork because Labor Day.
He's got work tomorrow too, but that's like regular work because it's
retail.
You don't even know what holidays are.
No.
I work in healthcare. I'm aware of 6, and I have to take PTO for all of them.
Same.
No, you don't. You don't have. You have to work them.
Yeah.
Period. You don't get them off.
Because you get the people who come in and they're like, "Oh my God, I can't believe you have to work today." And it's like, "Cause you're here."
Yeah. Those people.
I don't miss food service at all. I went from food service to mental health to just like
I'm making sure I'm going in tomorrow just to harass him. No, I'm not. No, actually, I've got everything I need. I'm prepared to go and start cooking tomorrow. And
if I
I know, right?
If I go in there and I ask you for like
ice, ask for ice.
We got ice today.
Oh, you did?
Yes.
Sweet.
I'll ask for water then.
Okay.
Leave that out. I want fresh water.
The cleanest of
the stale water.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, everywhere I've been today has been totally out of ice.
Might be because of Labor Day. Yeah.
No.
They're having trouble with drivers, and the labor shortage is affecting everything.
Well, maybe if they actually paid their drivers.
There would not be a labor shortage if they paid people well.
I know our delivery service drivers get paid commission. The more ice they sell, the more they get paid.
Oh, you're on an algorithm.
Oh, fine. I got 2 raises this year because IU Health raised their minimum wage to be competitive. And like apparently my career job where I'm getting paid more than I ever have in my life, they're like, yeah, you're still under $20 an hour. We're going to kick that up. Like, I have a master's. And they're like, you don't need a master's for your job. You need a bachelor's in public health. I'm like, I don't have that. You know what? I'm good. But if I get a master's in public health, do I get a raise? And they're like, oh, because you're grant funded. Like, the IU Health only pays, like, 10% of the wages. The rest is all, like, ISDH and NHS.
They're grant funded. Remind me again how expensive medical bills are.
My medical bills? Dumb. Dumb. But I'm paid by surveillance organizations like the Indiana Department of Health. And so it's not ISDH anymore, it's IDOH. And they can't say it, right? It's funny as hell. Jeremy Turner is the director of the HIV services at the Indiana Department of Health, and he still says ISDH. And it's like, you silly bitch. You're my boss's 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 boss, and you still can't get it right. I love you, Jeremy. You're a champion. But then, yeah, the NHS, the National Health Service, and like the CDC, we get lots of grants and donations from the community. Like, so every service we provide is free. So like, I do testing for free. I don't get commission, which is why I find that people are like, why are you pushing the testing so hard? It's like, because I want you to get sick, and you're not gonna die from it statistically, but it's gonna suck the whole time. So if you can test it, you'll be good. Because STDs are weird, man. Like, more than half the time, people don't show symptoms. And I hate that. I hate it a lot. Because usually, like, you know, like COVID, like, people show symptoms for COVID. Like, you know when you're wrong. At least everyone that's getting the Herman Cain Award knows that they're wrong. It feels so good. But, yeah, like, when I do the STI test, they're like, why do I need that? You know, are you getting paid for this? I'm like, I'm getting paid salary. So me being here at 7:30 after talking to you is entirely on me. Do you want tested or not? And they're like, well, you did make a good point. I'm like, of course, that's my job. Let's get this done. And I answer the question, and I get to know another person, and then they go out into the wild, and thanks to HIPAA, I don't have to acknowledge them in public. It's great. Because if they walk up to me and they're like, hey, Fort, and I'm like, hey, you're one of people. But I can't sit there and be like, hey, still good? You using those condoms they gave you? Because that would be cool and illegal. Just a smidge illegal. I would get fired.
So speaking about, how do you feel about people saying that you don't have a right to tell me, to ask if I've been vaccinated because of HIPAA?
Oh, you get to learn about the Health Information Potability and Privacy Act.
Yes.
That is basically.
Accountability Act.
Sorry, yeah, there's 2 A's, not 2 P's, because I think of hippo, not hip-ha. Thank you, Dick.
I do what I do.
Love you, platonically. Dick. Corrected me on my own guest spot. But, yeah.
That's what he's here for.
So HIPAA applies only to insurance and healthcare providers and making sure that your personal information is not accessible. It has absolutely nothing to do with you making your information accessible or what people can ask about. Like, the best example I can give is, since I give people tests, sometimes people are really nervous and they bring their, their partner or a friend along, and well, not due to COVID, you used to be able to sit in the same room together, but when I had to give results, the other person had to step out unless you signed a release of information. I can give you your result, and you can immediately walk outside that door and go, I'm good. Do they trust you? That's really up to you two. But, I legally cannot tell that other person your health information, but you can say whatever you want. And you can also say, I don't have to tell you because America, but if you quote HIPAA, you're being wrong because HIPAA does not apply here because the supermarket is not a healthcare provider, and healthcare providers can ask you for all your personal information, which you do give out to your healthcare providers when they give you that little survey at the beginning saying, do you have a chronic illness? Do you happen to have COPD? Do you have any blood conditions? Tell us about your family members. Do they have high blood pressure? And then you tell them that because you don't want to die and you want to give an accurate, medical history. But that doesn't really fit into the logic of people who just want an excuse to do whatever they want and be free from consequences. I'm saying so much. I'm almost foaming at the mouth.
You are kind of brightening up too, so I see the red coming in. You're flushing. Yeah.
I am passively livid.
Yeah.
At the human condition.
That wasn't the reaction I was looking for, but that was definitely the answer I was looking for. So.
Yeah,
thank you.
I would tell you how that makes me, but HIPAA, I don't have to.
You will walk to your car eventually. I will find out what car it is, and you'll find out the little pins that keep the air in your tires will no longer be in there.
If it helps, he lives a block and a half away.
That does not help him.
We'll do a drive.
No, you.
We'll drive past and show you where it's at. It'll be fine.
We step outside and point at it.
Yes.
Man, somebody just drew 3 large eggs. Is this what he means by egging my house? He just drew eggs on my house. Eggs are expensive. In this economy, spray paint's cheaper.
$1.79 a dozen.
Spray paint's cheaper.
$7 a can.
It's
$10 if you want to get the really big tall ones. Those are great.
Wow, where are you buying your spray paint? Good God.
Menards.
Ooh, no. Go back to Walmart.
Oh no, they don't have the ones I need.
Yeah.
$4.99 for 10 ounces, or I'm paying $10 for 20 something.
Bologna works real good as an egg substitute. Leaves nice circles.
Plus, it's a primer. Has a great spray thing on it. It works so much better than the ones.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah. Bologna. I'll keep that in mind.
Yeah. That's tip for the internet.
Yeah, bologna. We're out of eggs. Use bologna.
Oh yeah, that's great for car paint, ain't it? And mustard.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It's been a while since my considering vandalism days, but I can bring them back.
Yeah.
I work retail. I consider it every single day.
See, I work an office
Consider
job
it.
that's not it's not explicitly 9 to 5, but I do get to flex time because I do work evenings and stuff. I don't feel that rage anymore, and it might just be because I don't work in food service anymore, where I get people who just. Granted, this was back in 2014, so you just get and I worked in Purdue, so you get all the college kids at 1 in the morning, oh my God, can I get some fucking breadsticks? Which cheese, extra cheese. It's fuck yeah, YOLO! It's no, YOLO, this is cheese sauce, ma'am. And you only live once, but it doesn't really apply to an extra 69 cents for a can for some cheese. It's okay. It's okay. I'll see you outside where you're gonna lose those breadsticks to yelling at your friend who drove by. It's fine. It's fine. But I'm. Oh yeah, it's been over 10 years, so I can say I do have a stop sign.
Actually, in this state, it's a little more interesting because of how many disappear. And I bought that one at an antique store. is so easy to do. In actuality, this is true. I'm not lying here. I acquired 5 signs at an auction.
Unless they catch you stealing it.
That's a different story.
If they
But
catch you
no, I
stealing
actually
it, you can't
have
take
the
it out of an
receipt.
antique mall.
I have a story.
Unless you say that the stop sign was outside of an antique mall,
Right.
in which case, that's semantics.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, the difference is I actually have the receipt. So.
Please, incriminate yourself.
It wasn't me. It was the group of people I rode to McDonald's with.
And they stole a sign?
There was 8 of us. We fit in a Honda Civic.
Hell yeah.
That's 6 in the cab and 2 in the trunk. It's over 10 years ago. I'm okay. I was one of the ones in
Also,
the
they
trunk.
can't prove it happened.
Funny thing is, he was one in the trunk.
Yeah,
Yeah,
one of 2.
Yeah, including my bowling bag.
There was trunk stuff in there, yes. And
This tire iron and I got real familiar. It
friend of
explains a
mine,
lot.
Ian, we went to McDonald's between band shows. And on the way back, we met a group of people there. It's like, hey, what are you guys doing here? One of them was driving his mom's great big SUV at the time. Huge. Like...
Was it like a expedition or whatever?
That size, yeah.
My God.
And so I got a ride with him on the way back. I was done eating. 7 people rode in the Honda Civic on the way back to the school.
Cool.
They saw somebody carrying a stop sign. They said, you need to go put that back and we'll give you a ride. No, just give me a ride. No, put the stop sign back and we'll get... No, I'll put it back later. Just give me a ride. It's starting to rain. And so some arguing went back and forth, and they gave him a ride with the stop sign.
Wow, that guy's really good at diplomacy roles.
And when he got to the school, the car of 8 people, there was 13 police officers pulled him over. Because if there's more than one man in the car, they have to have a police officer there. So 8 people, 8 officers minimum. They brought the whole squad because they stole a stop sign.
What I have learned is that the stop signs with the stickers on the back are like federal, or at least like state level, like protected. But the ones that you can find like in the parking lots of like malls and stuff that don't have the stickers on the back are basically fair game. Because they're not legally enforceable. They're kind of like only for insurance companies to say, well, he ran this arbitrary sign we placed here. So
It's just for control and make sure things don't happen.
it's a vague sense of order, and
Yeah.
like the stop sign I have is like the one that nobody stopped at anyways. It was like 4 in the morning. It's like for a neighborhood. Nobody missed it. And then, you know, my dad knew a guy who was on the HOA, and they were talking about replacing that stop sign, and then he looked in my closet and he goes, "Where'd you get that?" And I'm like, I don't have to tell you. This is entrapment. Are you a cop? You legally have to tell me. There's no law that says that.
No.
There is no law that says that. But yeah, and he's like, "Are you gonna put that back?" I'm like, "Do I have to?" And he goes, "Don't tell your mom about that." And I've had it since. It's been, what was that, 15 years ago now?
Yep.
Yep, I'm turning 32 this month, so yeah.
32.
I know, it must sting, huh?
No.
You know what will sting?
Hmm.
I tested somebody who was born in 2003.
That was the year I graduated high school.
Yeah, they're going to IU now.
Yeah, that happened.
And that is vague enough information that does not violate it. Because I didn't say where, when, or who.
Who were they? Okay. I thought I'd try.
I'll never tell. Yeah, but just seeing as like this is like I'm just like testing a bunch of people. I was like, oh yeah, you're reasonably cute. 2003, you were a literal child. I don't like this. This makes me feel the uncomfortable old feelings, and I know it will only get worse because I work in a college town, and I will for at least another 5 years. So then, at the end of this, at the end of my tenure, likely, potentially, there's going to be kids coming in that were born in 2008, which is when I graduated high school, and I might just be like, man, I'm not suicidal, but that word does ring really hard right now.
88. So, go ahead.
88?
That's when I graduated high school.
Ooh, I wasn't even born yet.
I know.
But we were.
Yep.
Barely.
All the way.
I hate to rub it in like that, but my God. I feel for you. In a way. I can't relate yet, but I know I will.
Yeah. 51,
You started
no biggie.
relating
Yeah.
because of The girl that was born in 2003. It's those little things that always started off. I was at work the other day and I looked at one of our cashiers and thought about it. I've been working at Babs for 16 years. This cashier's 15 years old. I've been there longer than they've been alive.
Your Babs career could start driving.
Yes.
And if this keeps up, your Babs career could vote.
Yes.
Speaking of, you want to know an interesting thing about 16-year-olds and driving?
Go
in
on.
this state, which is really strange and irritating. After the turmoil of taking the classes, having to acquire 60 hours of driving and doing all that other stuff, and acquiring their license.
Is that mandatory now? For the classes and stuff?
I believe so to a point. Unless there is a special needs, you have to have the classes for it.
Okay.
Or you have to wait till you're 18.
That explains
And if you're under 18, once you get your license, you're not allowed to have a passenger who is not an adult or sibling with you for 6 months.
So they have to be related,
Mm-hmm.
or they have to be an adult.
18 or over with a license of their own.
Interesting.
Yeah, so my son, who has his license, can't go drive his friends around until January.
What an interesting distinction for the first 6 months.
Oh, because, it's 6 months. They suddenly, +1 in responsibility.
Yeah, yes. Much like when you turn 18,
Yeah.
you can be legally trusted with
That's
tobacco
+1 in...
tobacco's 21 now.
Yes.
It was
Mhm.
21.
So then you can be legally trusted with porn and voting.
Yeah.
And guns.
Oh, and
guns.
guns.
Yeah,
Well, no,
yeah.
some guns. Handguns.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah.
You can get a rifle at any age,
Mhm.
Yeah.
and I don't think you need a registration for it.
No,
For the rifle, I don't think so.
Not in Indiana, no.
no, not here.
Shotguns?
No, not you don't need a registration with a shotgun either.
So
in
long
Indiana.
guns.
I am the ones that are really conspicuous.
Mm-hmm.
And long gun is one of those
Long gun
gray
sounds
area
like
words.
that reminds me of long cats.
Yeah. This SMG it's a long gun. Why? It barrel's longer than X.
Long gun is long. Adjective, noun is same adjective.
Today on Everything is Nothing Mad Libs review.
How long can we keep this going?
I don't know.
Can we slaughter this bit? God. And done.
And scene. Speaking of scenes, your acting career. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Please.
Yes. Where did you start?
In acting?
Acting.
Where did I start in that? I would love the story to be like, in elementary school I played a tree, but no, I didn't do any acting until I think college. And the first bit of acting, and not just public speaking, I think was I gave a speech about cheesecake. One moment. It was a speech with Jinx for like a pride thing, because Jinx is asexual.
Mhm.
I am not asexual. And so people often ask, wait, so if you want sex, how can you be in a good, solid relationship? And this was like 5 years ago. We are together 8 years now. So obviously, I haven't died.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, how does this work? And so the speech was basically comparing sex to cheesecake, which is, I like cheesecake. I am okay not having cheesecake. Sometimes I really want cheesecake. And if I don't get it, I'm okay. But if I get it, fun. So, yeah, I gave that, and some grad student came up and was like, hey, I really liked your delivery on that. Do you want to help me out with one of my projects? And I'm like, sure. I was like, yeah, could you, I basically had to write like 3 small plays, and you get to perform them. There's like 2 other actors. It's just going to be really short kind of stuff. I'm like, sure. I'm out of college. I have case management job where I can actually dedicate my evenings to another craft as opposed to any other job where I did not get evenings consistently. And so, yeah, I did that, and the only people who showed up to the show were my friends, just my friend and his girlfriend. And the girlfriend was my roommate, and Jinx. And so it's like, so how was the house? Packed. And it was fine. It was, I would say, it was a good college project. It was not remarkable.
It's a college project.
It was a college master project. He wrote a thing, he directed a thing, he did casting. Like, it all
He
worked
checked
together.
the boxes.
He checked the boxes, and then every other acting bit after that was just basically word of mouth. So, like, because I was one of the administrators of the Humans versus Zombies game up in Purdue for 4 years. Helped start it. And so I was the guy who did the call-outs. I did a lot of NPC roles and stuff like that to help kind of bring narrative to what is ultimately college kids running around with Nerf guns on campus completing missions.
That can never go wrong.
It never did, except for the person who broke their fucking femur. Because they jumped over one of those chain links that you're not supposed to do. We told people not to jump over fences, and one kid did and shattered a bone. And we made them sign waivers, so we're good.
It's all on you.
I ended up working with that kid at Papa John's like 2 summers later, and I was like, he's like, what are you doing? I'm like, oh, I go to Purdue. Me too, yeah. You look familiar. Did you do the Human vs. Zombie thing? I was like, I did. And he goes, oh my god, dude, you wouldn't believe what happened. I'm like, that was you? Because I was an admin. We had a talk with like the school officials about that event. And they're like, make sure it doesn't happen again. And I'm like, we already tell them not to do that. Just like we tell them not to play in traffic. Guess what people do when they get competitive? Because Call of Duty was real big then, and so they thought they could just do that. But yeah, so people heard about me from there. So I'm in like one of the training videos for one of the dining courts where I play a manager. And then I also helped out with like a school project for somebody had a documentary about the Baskerville font.
Oh God. Okay.
And I was like the David Attenborough of the Baskerville font. And so I put on this very fake, haughty accent to talk about the Baskerville font. And I think she got a passing grade with that. Then yeah, I just kind of dabble in and out of that occasionally, just as. So.
Speaking of, I'm supposed to ask you if you want to be in Frankenstein, but I'm pretty sure you're busy. They have a couple of small parts, and here I'm doing it. So there's a witness. You don't have to answer.
When is it?
Gen Con weekend.
So 2 weeks from now?
Yes.
Yep.
No, I cannot.
There you go.
Because I'm helping out the hospital. But I appreciate the offer. I do have 2 IMDb credits though.
Sweet.
Yeah, they're in. One's a relatively minor role, and the other one is absolutely an extra.
It sounds like a good title for a role. Absolutely an extra.
Absolutely an
That could
extra.
be a movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. The first one, it was actually like a
Romantic
pretty
comedy.
decent production.
Yeah, that's a Lifetime comedy title.
Absolutely an
26
extra.
Like 27 Dresses or whatever.
Yeah.
Absolutely an
So
extra.
no, my mind doesn't really ever go to romantic comedies. So
That's
the
because you're
title.
sexist.
I am.
That's the title for a romantic comedy. I'm telling you right now. It'll be.
That's because you're sexist is a title for a romantic comedy.
2026. Absolutely an extra.
I mean, TM. Anyway. Yeah, I played a. It was funny because I was
He's
working.
going to be the main star. The extra, I mean.
Yes.
Yeah. It was when I was working at the hospital, so people they were like, "Do you want to be a paramedic?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'll play an EMT." And so I auditioned for the guy who got possessed and was basically like, he died in the very beginning of the movie, that his ghost haunts like this autopsy resident. And I did not get that role. I was one of the EMTs who actually understands how needles work. And they're like, yeah, give them CCs. I was like, you do not give people that many CCs. You do not use that type of needle for that. Come on, you were able to rent the back of an ambulance. Can we please use something? So we don't have a hand, arm pressure cuff, which is called a sphygmometer, around this dude's neck. Can we just be more real, please?
Just use that word in it. You're fine, right?
Yeah, that even doctors don't fucking use that word.
Yeah.
They hate that word because they put an extra mom in there because it's Greek and stupid. Anyway, there's that one. Then yeah, I played a psychiatrist for a kid who was suicidal because his parents and girlfriend died in the same week.
Ooh.
Yeah, and so I got to be very much myself in that.
Yeah.
Which is fun because it's just like, do I need a psychiatrist? I'm like, I don't know. Are you suicidal? And he goes, no. Not very convincing. Anyways. So if you want to see me in a minor role, it's called Disturbia, I think. And then the one I'm, the other role, you can look me up. I'm alexfort on IMDb. I forget the name of the other role. But it's fun. I liked that one a lot. Did I see it? No. You know why?
Hmm.
Because the guy who did it emailed everybody about the release party and forgot to include me in the email.
Oh.
I'll show you that no CC working big letter guy.
The problem is that, like, he did it like 3 times. I think he had like a mailing list. He thought I was in it to send out the scripts. And he's like, "Oh, hey, I didn't hear back from you. Are you still in?" And I'm like, "I never got anything." He goes, "Oh, my bad." And then he did that twice.
Let me just email it again. And again.
I just, yeah, fun stuff. But then, like, a week later, he's like, "Oh, sorry. The link's up here if you want to watch it." And I was like, I don't. Because looking at myself and hearing my candor is weird.
I don't know. I thought you did pretty good for the Cthulhu shots.
Thank you.
Those were awesome.
I did my best on that, as I try to do my best every time. Just every once in a while, it feels a little canny and uncanny.
Well, the shot we actually filmed at Civilian Brewery. I told you I'd mention you. Was really well done. I liked that one. I know we had to run it a few times because reasons, but
yeah, because there's other human beings and COVID.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that was fun.
I did enjoy that. That was a lot of fun. I keep looking at that clock. Things like, man, it's getting late. No, it's about as late as I thought it was. It's 10:30.
We're right at the 10:30 mark, folks.
Well, we can keep going.
This is up to you.
I'll keep going.
Well, then let's continue on acting a little bit. You've been in 3 of my productions, 1 through OCCT and 2 private ones.
Yes.
How did you like those?
They're fun. If I can put it plainly, they're fun. It's one of those ones where I've actually worked with a decent number of directors now, and I have enough of a tertiary knowledge of like the rest of the steps around film production to kind of like, this is an interesting way to do it because you are pretty much just you and whoever else you can wrangle in. Yeah. And you generally write your own stuff, and your director's like, I want to say the director vision, which sounds very pretentious, but it makes a lot of sense when you think about like when you envision a scene going out, how you want the cinematography to work, because you do all of that. You don't have like a director of photography to help out with that. It's definitely different. It's unique, and there are pros and cons to any directorial style, which is why it's like there's a lot of people like Wes Anderson. I do not like Wes Anderson because I hate the way he frames his fucking shots, and his dialogue feels very distant, and your dialogue doesn't. And sometimes your shots are a little claustrophobic. And I don't know if that's what you're going for.
What's wrong with claustrophobic?
When you're claustrophobic, it's more like because I watched the Humans Make Great Pets.
We Make Great Pets.
And like there were some bits where I felt this conflict because I know you wanted my feedback on it. You're getting it now.
Sweet.
There is a benefit to a big open room to portray emptiness and loneliness. And when you're claustrophobic, it's hard to understand how alone someone is because you feel like you're right here.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's uncomfortable. And you also want to capture discomfort. And that's hard to capture both feelings at the same time because they are diametrically opposed perspective-wise. So you can't be claustrophobic and distant. That's not how it works.
So I hate to interrupt, but speaking of uncomfortable, I have to go to the bathroom.
Oh,
okay,
no!
okay.
I have to squeeze past everybody.
All right, everybody who wants to get their face in the shot, smile now. Jeremiah's not coming in.
Nope.
Okay.
I'm too busy
All
looking up IMDb Alexfort.
There's like 3 of them.
There's like 7 of them.
Fuck! I'm like the 3rd one. Look for the one that has Disturbia in there. Yeah, 2014? Yeah. But there's that, and then just due to the fact of your time constraints, there was just some of the cuts were very, very sudden and jarring. Yeah. And so it's hard to kind of get that differentiation of time passing because it's just like right into another thing, and I'm like already talking.
Yeah.
And
that did disturb me. And long story short, it's supposed to be 15 minutes long max, and
you started at 21.
My first cut was 21 inches. 21 inches. Oh jeez, what are we thinking there? That wasn't Freudian at all. 21 minutes. And let's see. Yeah, so I had to cut it down, and I do believe I made some of the wrong choices where I could have cut some more and brought in those pauses and silences, because unfortunately that's what I did a lot of. I did rearrange a lot too, but I cut off a lot of those.
Yeah.
Quiet.
I think some of the sections that would have really worked, you just didn't have the time for.
Yeah.
Like the bit where I'm reading the Greek epic.
Yeah.
Like, it's not that I do a good job of it. I just liked the tone that instilled. Just like, he's reading it again, because it's all he has.
Yeah.
It's the Iliad. Again.
Odyssey.
The Odyssey.
Yes.
Again.
Yeah.
It's not the Troy story.
No. This is the post-Troy story. This is the let's go home.
The journey home.
And there was actually kind of a point to that, because this was the idea of he's abducted, he's out in space, he wants to go home, and he has no control over where he goes, kind of.
And it takes far longer than you anticipate.
Yeah.
But also 15 minutes.
Yeah.
On the dot.
Unless, of course, you actually do catch the few clues there that time is passing.
If I can weigh in a little bit, I just always find it funny when, because like one of the problems I had in school when I first started was that I was very concise, and so whenever I had to 2-page minimum, I always found tricks to make it just hit 2 pages. And then I did my master's thesis, which was a maximum of 25,000 words, and my first draft was 32. 32,000 words roughly translates to about 65 to 70 pages, single point, single spaced. I wrote a lot of fucking words about that. And then I gave it to my supervisor. My supervisor was like, this is too long. And I'm like, I know. And they're like, you have to cut stuff out. I don't want to. Because if I put it in here, it's necessary. And she goes, well, like the Animal Farm quote, all points are good, but some are more good than others.
Yep.
And so you gotta trim it. And so I cut out 12,000 words. My thesis is still 51 pages plus appendices. So yeah, I get it. I understand the feeling. I was like, but I really like it to be 21 minutes. You can't. 15.
Yeah.
All right, let's trim it down. Let's make this real. Do we need to move?
So it actually did get trimmed twice.
Twice?
So
Is that box rotting?
probably.
Yeah.
It's green. Okay.
Yeah.
Please don't scratch it and sniff it. It is not a toy.
You just told the wrong person not to do
I know. I'm half expecting him to just lick his fingers to spite me.
Oh, don't worry. He'll make his rounds downstairs looking for leftovers.
Yeah.
A pox upon you.
He is a pox.
A blight. A scourge, even.
So on that note, Jeremiah did see the original 15-minute version, and then I didn't like it and changed it again.
So there's 2 15-minute versions.
Yeah, which you've
Give
seen.
me the butthole cut.
The very end got really, really overly fast-paced and tight. Plus, there was no color grading, and there was no.
Right.
And I really felt that this one focuses on his treatment. I think a little more than I wanted it to. That one did even more so. So
okay.
It touched on points of all the food products and everything else.
I think in the perfect world, if you had the space and the budget, you would have just done that one pure white room, like when Squidward breaks the time machine, and he's like, alone. Alone. That. Just put me in that room, and I don't even have to act. I'll be fucked up.
That was actually one of the big changes. Was there was that moment where you were in that space and you have the first conversation, which you're pulling your little millennial. Yeah, I've seen worse. And then you actually go through a couple of days in this
oppressively white space.
Yeah, and you have your breakdown where you're like, go to the ground, you fall asleep, and well, all that's out.
Yeah, I noticed.
Yeah, and that.
I remember we did a lot of filming outside, and I got a sunburn on my nice bald head, and all of it's gone.
Yeah. No, it's
I
not
also
gone.
did a lot of yelling at a house.
Yeah.
Because that's supposed to be where the alien be at.
Yeah. But I could have probably gotten rid of the eggs.
Coulda.
Yeah.
You coulda. The coffee bit had to stay. I think it's one of my best takes.
That was
the coffee bit's my fucking favorite.
Yeah.
Because it was cold black coffee. 1, I can't have coffee anymore. 2, when I did drink my coffee, I drank it like a dessert and like creamer and sugar. And if you put chocolate in it, it'd be baller. Did I drink pumpkin spice lattes? They weren't really popular when I could drink coffee, so I don't know. But I did have really nice coffee in Europe, and I will That's like the last coffee I
Spoiled.
ever had. I know, right? So it's like I get to die on the high note, but then you got to take that wonderful little crest I was upon. It's like, all right, here, and pretend like it's not coffee. It's like, okay, I put them on. Like, the only way you could have gotten a more real reaction is if you did put, like, motor oil in there.
Well, we had the coffee. I figured might as well use it, so.
And coffee, just black coffee is battery acid. I don't know how you like it. It's literally like a pungent, bitter drink.
All right, my coffee, basically I start my first cup, I put in a little bit of milk, whole milk. My second cup, it's whatever milk is still left in the first one, is all that's in there. And then eventually there's none
You
left.
don't seem like a big fan of homeopathy, but like, that's how you do it though. That's how you drink your coffee.
No, well, the difference, if I wanted homeopathy, I would actually take my coffee, walk it past the non-dairy creamer,
No,
and
you
then
would-
say it's creamer.
You would put creamer in there, and then you would add increasing amounts of coffee.
Not that much coffee. Have you've read the back of some of those things? It's like, what, 6 to the 50th power is how much? So you've got 0.100 zeros, 1 of whatever they say is actually in there. So it's like, oh yeah, you might as well just throw that tea bag into the ocean and drink from the other side of the lake.
I mean, yeah. Did you know that there are some chemicals we can detect at 3 parts per trillion?
Yeah.
It's fucking cool.
Mm-hmm.
That just reminded me of that. I'm full of fun facts, everybody.
Yeah.
Welcome to the show. Write in your favorite fun fact. Petrichor. I like petrichor. Are you familiar with petrichor?
No.
Petrichor is a combination of molecules and like fungus spores and stuff that precedes rain.
Okay.
It's the smell of rain coming.
Yes.
Everyone in the Midwest knows the smell of rain coming, and that's called petrichor. And we can smell that at like 3 parts per trillion.
It's, believe it or not, in the desert, it's really strong out there.
Yeah.
Because you go for, we haven't had rain in like 3 months, and all of a sudden, I can smell the moisture. No, I'm just inhaling various microbes and fungus and stuff.
And just all the things that like nature like can tell just due to barometric pressure that stuff's coming. And so it's like, get it out! And then you can smell that, and the human brain, like the human nose, is like so sensitive to that smell because it's so like vitally necessary for life. It's like, yeah, rain's coming. You just know.
And that's why you love the smell of rain.
Yep. That's actually one of the few things, like, because I hate biological essentialism.
Mm-hmm.
It's another fun thing I learned in my fancy schmancy fucking lib cuck school. Biological essentialism is the idea that everything that we have and do in regards to like reproduction is necessary and determined by nature. And that's not true, because like the statement "boys will be boys" is an example of biological essentialism. It's basically saying that like this is an essence of like our natural state.
Sorry, I'm trying to set this up so we can record and decide to play something.
Did-
Thank you, Instagram.
Does he get a mark now?
Yeah.
Yep, I got a mark. Yeah.
So yeah, that's one of the few things that like we have a few little avenues in our brain that are absolutely like holdovers from just millions of generations of like us walking out of a fucking lake.
It's checking connection. Oh, so there we are. Now, not all are we on Twitch at the moment. We're on YouTube, and we're on Instagram right now. So if anybody who actually follows me wants to watch this, you'll get about 5 minutes of us talking. Continue, sorry.
So yeah,
I'm not sorry.
biological essentialism is a very interesting thing to dig into, and I love digging into it so hard because it's fucking bullshit. It's not real. It's not even a thing. Just like, you know, like girls just like, you know, cooler colors. They just like bright, and it's like, you know, like I talked to my sister. She's 10. Guess what she doesn't like?
Bright colors.
She doesn't like butterflies. She doesn't like.
Well, she must not be. Sorry.
She doesn't like pastels. She doesn't care for jewelry. So I'm like, what's wrong with you? You're just a bad girl. It's like, no! She's just a human being. And it's like, that doesn't subscribe to the shit that we assume that, like, you know, girls like doing these things because they like arts and crafts stuff because, you know, way back thousands of years ago, we had to make baskets and stuff. It's like, nope, not true. Also, that's not how it works.
Yeah.
So, like, I am not genetically predisposed to be more of one thing or another. You just kind of look at like what qualities translate into your experiences.
But I really want to believe that I was the one chasing down the saber-toothed tiger, and that's what's in my blood.
Because that's what makes me an alpha male.
Right.
That someone generations before me did something cool, and I'm riding the laurels of 500,000 years ago. Like, tell me that you are proud of something you have no control over, more than saying that you know, that you like Axe body wash because it reminds you of a time when you had to literally fight for survival and were likely to die of dysentery. Tell me that's what's cool. Because like, I love pride in ways. I hate some other types of pride because it's equivalent to when people compliment my beard. I know it's nice. I do literally nothing for this. I literally didn't shave my face and a beard popped up. So like, am I proud of it? I did nothing to have it. It's red. That's not my choice.
You should tell him about your love for facial hair.
Your lack of it? Or
oh no, he can grow.
I can see the stubble.
I absolutely hate it.
Why?
I shave every day I can.
Why?
Because I think I look better clean shaven, and I don't want to deal with it.
Okay. It's more that he doesn't want to deal with it.
That's fair. I can totally understand that. Because the other bit is just like, when you grow a beard, do you look like you fell out of John Malkovich's head? Like, is
Malkovich?
I've never tried to grow a beard. I grew a mustache for one performance.
You are not allowed to grow mustaches alone. Like that's.
Oh no, this was actually pretty funny. His role required a mustache.
Yeah.
Not a beard, a mustache.
Okay, that's the only excuse.
So Sunday, about 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
The play's over. Curtain call is done, and he disappears.
Yeah.
10 minutes later, clean shaven.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because I went home and took that disgusting thing off of my face.
That's beautiful. I love it.
Yeah. No, he wasn't allowed to have a fake one. No, he had to have a real one.
Well, yeah, because you can tell a fake one from like a mile away.
That's what I said. It's like, I'll try to grow a real one. That was the first time I'd ever tried to grow facial hair. I grew it. It was there. And it pissed me off.
Oh, he hated it. He almost looked like Tony.
It'd be one thing like if you tried growing a beard and then you like looked like one of those kids who kind of was like glued hair onto their face.
Yep. Hey, on that note, we're gonna go ahead and end our Instagram thing here. But hope
yeah.
you all enjoyed that little beard talk. Yep, we're ending video.
Yeah, I remember in my teens, I was like, I'm gonna grow facial hair. My dad has facial hair. I love facial hair. Like it started coming like really bright red. I was like, I can't.
My father had a mustache for like all of my childhood.
That was like a big
I run off to college. Well, I didn't run off. I went to college. And one day, like, I hadn't seen everybody in like several months because that's the way I was. And I come back and I'm like, what's wrong with you? I can't figure it out. And it took a little while. I realized that wasn't a shadow. It was gone. But my mind kept placing the. So it was like well before the Superman edit. I had that sort of situation where something's wrong with your upper lip. What'd you do, Dad?
Listen, my dad also always had the Robert Redford thickness of a mustache.
Oh, sorry, you're off camera, so like thickness?
Yes,
Yeah.
like it was a thick, bushy mustache, full body.
The Burt
mustache.
Reynolds?
Yes, the Burt
Walrus.
Reynolds style.
But not the what's that guy?
Jamie Heineman.
Oh yeah, I was thinking the other guy, the Sam Elliott.
Oh, Sam Elliott.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But and so all my life and through childhood, he'd always had the mustache. And then I came home from school one day, and everything was wrong. There was no mustache. This wasn't my father. I was like 10 or 12 in that range. It's like,
who are you?
What? Why? This is weird.
My dad did that move to me too.
Yeah, but what happened with him was he had tried to take the top off a spray can and used a screwdriver and popped it and sprayed his face with chrome spray paint before a meeting. So he had to shave his beard and shave the mustache off and scrub his face down to get all the spray paint off.
If I was shiny and chrome in the beard department, that'd be dope.
Right?
I
mean, witness me, man.
I'm awaited.
It was just such a weird sensation, though. I understand where you come from. Where you come home, it's just like, this isn't right.
See, there's all kinds of videos on YouTube these days of dads who have full beard, and then they come home and their 3, 4, 5-year-old son and daughters see them clean shaven and they don't recognize them. They start bawling.
Yeah, there's a stranger in the house and he has a very weak chin.
See, there was a guy I knew in high school. well, I was in college. Yeah, I was in college, and he always had his goatee. He had to have his goatee. He had to have his goatee. Well, one day
Evil?
he wanted to be. He was such a wannabe.
Oh.
He's the sort of guy who goes like, I never throw up when I get drunk. You know exactly what he did that night.
Oh, he
In
threw
the
up
back
on
of my
the lot.
car. But long
What a
story
nerd.
short, he said like your father probably had a better reason. You're not going to get the spray paint out, so might as well shave it off. It'd be better. No, he fell asleep in a thing of nacho cheese, and that was the reason he shaved his beard off. Because you can at least warm that up and get it out.
I feel like the zestiness of nacho cheese would be kind of like a form of smelling salts. Mixed with like when you see like a dog and you like put like a piece of bacon in front of them when they're sleeping, their eyes just like
Yeah.
It's like if I like because like queso is good because I like cheese and I like powerful cheese, but not the stinky cheese. I like the good cheese. And so
Good
like if
cheese
I were
with a
like
nice,
fall asleep,
bit of chili in there.
and my brain would just be like, oh, nacho cheese. Like the only people I've seen fall asleep in food are usually high on something. So like
I wouldn't put it past him.
Yeah. So if like, but I would never use that as an excuse to get rid of the beard.
Yeah.
Like you can wash cheese out.
Yes.
You can't wash spray paint out without like mineral spirits.
Some
You don't
wonderful
want that in
chemicals.
here.
Right, yeah.
Get those non-polar solvents in the places they don't belong.
That's like a good chemical
Eyes,
peel.
nose, and mouth, please. My skin digs it.
Let's put it on all sensitive skins. Yes.
Irritating
Mhm.
and luscious. Yeah, I can't get rid of the beard because every single time I do, it's just kind of like, hey, you have a genetically very weak lower face. It just kind of rounds.
So that takes you down to almost a beta.
It makes me very much
Irish.
into showing the roots in Britain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't have a gaunt, sharp face. This is a lie. This is manipulating perception. You know, like you take an art class and they teach you about perspective lines, and you just do that. It's just
And it's gone.
I'm a magician of sorts.
And suddenly I have a chin.
And suddenly it's very strong, and I can
Yeah.
think. It's like yes, you're
And
on
suddenly,
something.
You do have a degree.
Yeah.
You must be smart. You've grown a wizard beard.
Yo, when I worked in the psych hospital, I did not have a beard when I started because I was 23 and powerful. Because I had a very expensive piece of paper on my wall, and I was trying to figure out how to pay for it. And I went in, and I was wearing the mandatory polo and khakis, and I didn't wear my glasses because I didn't like wearing them. They were an obligation and all that. And then people would just be really shitty with me. And they're just like, hey, can you give me coffee? And, like, I understand they have like a mental problem, but at the same time they're rude. And then about a month or two in, my coworker's like, dude, if you look like you could grow a beard, you should try growing a beard. And I was like, maybe I should. It grows in red. He's like, who cares? Like, yeah. Who does? I'm an adult now. I'm in my 20s. I can do whatever I want. And I did. I grew the beard. I put my glasses on, and people started thinking I was a doctor. And
See, that's why wherever you work, make sure you carry around a clipboard.
Yep. You can wear, if you wear a high-vis vest and a clipboard, you can get anywhere.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, like I just went in. I had the beard and the glasses, and one of the guys I hadn't seen, until like a month or so prior, because he kept coming back in because he kept not taking his meds, like they do. And he was like, "Hey, coffee." And I looked at him, and he was like, "Oh, I'm sorry." And I was like, "Yeah, that's right." Also, at 8 o'clock at night, nobody gets coffee.
Get him.
Yeah.
God, that place. You're talking about ghost stories at ghost tours. Riverbend was a tuberculosis hospital in the early 1900s. It was built in 1901, and they had the windows nailed shut. It's built it's off a river road, so it's like the middle of nowhere. There's like two lights. There's like the street light and the door light. And so when you pull in, the building's shaped like a plus. And parking lot's here, and you got this wing, which used to be the geriatric wing. There was the wing that you face directly at, and that used to be the child's wing. Underneath, dining room, administrative offices, and the A wing is in the back. You could never see it, and everything else over there was other administrative offices. And so when you pull in for the night shift on a full moon, it's 11 o'clock at night, you look over and you can see, the dark windows of an empty hall, and you can see the dark windows of a food line, the cafeteria style. It's like everything just really long, and not a single fucking ghost bothered to show its face to me over the course of a year.
Bastards.
I know, right? And like I go in there and I'm like talking to a bunch of people and they're like, I saw the ghost of John Wayne Gacy outside my window, and I'm like, we're on the 2nd floor. I know. And I like open the window. And it's like it's 3 in the morning. It's like 3 in the afternoon. I'm like, there's nothing here, bud. Everyone's telling me about ghosts and people plucking out their eyes and like people hanging themselves because psych hospitals have and there's like a whole bunch of people died of TB and they still kind of do, but a lot more then before antibiotics and testing. And like nothing. I like go down to the dining hall at like 1 in the morning. I flick on the light and it goes down the line like into like this big like abyss of a dining room. Nothing. Nothing happened.
Not one of those darkened spots had like a silhouette in it for a half second.
Nothing.
So no change in temperature as you walk through areas. It was mysteriously. So why do you think you did not witness any ghosts?
One, there were no visual spectacles. There were no weird sounds we couldn't explain. There was, why did you not see any of this? I don't know. And I went to the boiler room because sometimes we have a little light. We had because it's built in the 1900s, so you had like this boiler light would blink, and we go down like 3 in the morning and like go into this place that has like the gates covering up all the garden equipment, and like you have these big boilers, and just like nothing weird happened. Just push a button, you're like, we're back on it, and you just leave.
So maybe you contain some sort of weird EKG thing in your blood that scares the ghosts off and causes all the ectoplasm and cold spots and noises to just kind of negate.
I would actually really enjoy that power a lot, because then I could like invalidate any ghost hunt tour. I would go in there and they're like, oh yeah, by the way, someone was murdered. In this house, there is old Frankie. Old Frankie used to be a baron. He held slaves. He was murdered in his sleep by one of his mistresses. Every once in a while, we hear scratching on the walls. That's weird. Old Frankie's usually a bastard. Huh. And I'm like, and there's nobody knocking on here. There's if we pull up the audio recordings, all you hear is me ranting.
So would you say you have the James Randi power?
That would be pretty cool. I would also really very much appreciate that if I was just like, you know what? You're not psychic anymore.
Because you can't prove it and you still don't get my $1 million, yes.
Yeah, you know what? You say you can bend spoons? Bend some of my spoons. Oh, I can't anymore. Ah, pity. And here, can you move this paper with your mind? What if we put something in front of your mouth? Oh, and you can't? Bummer.
Yeah. Here's a really sensitive microphone. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's interesting that the ghosts of the dead are on frequency 2.68. Huh, weird. I haven't been studied for that one because it's very hard to prove a negative. And also, I don't associate myself generally with the people who are just like, yeah, I see ghosts all the time.
Now, do you think it could be one of those, A, confirmation bias, because you
Likely.
want it to be there. 2, group hypnosis, because, you know, it's that whole I got to fit in, so I must have heard it too. Or,
oh, yeah, that's a groupthink thing.
Yeah.
I don't know if confirmation bias plays into it as much as I'm like sitting there like it never happens, and so it doesn't happen again. So I'm like, it never happened, because like that's not a confirmation bias. That's just hypothesis and answer.
Well, I'm talking for them. They want it so bad.
There's psychosomatics for sure, and there's also other like frequency-based hallucinations that can be 1.9 hertz is like a really good frequency to freak people out, because sometimes it resonates with people's eyes, which is
what was that frequency again? And say it really slowly for the audience.
The 1.9 hertz.
1.9 hertz.
Or it's
that's all we're going to tell you. Well, Google
I know
figured it out.
that does make a big difference, though. That is a very big difference between the two, because you have to define your units. That's good science.
Yeah.
But I do know that like a lot of places that are like haunted either have carbon monoxide exposures or they have poor ventilation systems.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, that fan, like that vent is making a very specific sub-aural noise, and it just freaks people out.
Yeah, I think that it's when you talk about the other spectrum, it's something like 21 to 22 has this weird resonance that causes people just to become uncomfortable, and that's enough for them to think, oh, there's a ghost. Why? I just don't feel right.
Your brain is a very fascinating ball of jelly, as I've said before, and it likes to fill in the blanks, and it likes to obscure or erase things it doesn't want to see. Which is why if you're in a room that smells like shit, after about 7 breaths, you stop smelling it. You're not really aware of your nose or your tongue unless I tell you about it.
And if only that worked when it was like dealing with, dead things.
Unfortunately, the smell of death will never go away, and that absolutely makes sense. Death is one of the fears that you can never really get rid of. Like, your brain does not like death. Like, that makes sense evolutionarily. It also makes sense just kind of psychologically. Like,
It's unhealthy for you to be around all these carcasses, so you might as well get out.
Something killed them. You better not stick around in case you're one of the things that happens to you.
Yeah, but what if you're the ones that killed them?
Well, then you have a logical justification for them to be dead, and that makes a lot of sense.
But then suddenly you still
But
can't
if you
get
walked
rid-
into
oh,
a room and there's someone keeled over dead, unless you can put some evidence in there, like some kind of backyard Sherlock Holmes.
See, here I'm talking about like slaughtering animals on a farm for food and all that, or taxidermy, and having to deal with that. It's like, oh great, now we have to clean this up because it's kind of stinky, and that smell never goes away. You never get used to it.
No. Yeah. But there's like,
you can put on some really good masks and get rid of it. That's for sure.
I just know, like, when I was raising my kittens, kitten poop's the worst poop in existence. It's just like any kind of infant poop, baby poop, like puppy poop. It's just bad.
Yeah.
It's every sense it offends every of the primary senses.
And it stays.
And then if you're in the room long enough, you just don't smell it anymore because your brain's like, I'm done with that. We've reached a saturation point. Move on. But there's other times when you kind of expect something to happen, and then if the background noise kind of goes away, and you're like, am I gonna die? No, the fan turned off, but it was loud for like an hour straight, and now it's not loud anymore. Am I gonna die?
And then all of a sudden, starts up again.
Right, or you just
Why was it on for an hour, but only on for like 3 seconds?
Like there's some stories that like make sense to me where it's just like, it's hard to mimic the sound of footsteps.
Mm-hmm.
It's very hard for anything to kind of mimic the cadence of regular footsteps.
Mm-hmm. Deer do it really well.
Yes, but like in a house upstairs when you think you're alone, I'm like, okay, there's got to be something to that.
Mm-hmm.
But I've never experienced that. The closest I've ever been to like a supernatural experience is when I was like getting ready to go on like a vacation, and I like freaked myself out. I was like, what if there's someone behind you right now? And then I fell down the stairs because I went too fast. But there wasn't any evidence that there was something behind me. My brain was just like, there's something behind you now. And I'm like, but what? I didn't hear anything, didn't see anything. It's like, you can't see behind you, ghost.
You might be onto something there. Brain, that jelly sitting there
But
going...
no one
poke,
died
poke,
in that house. It was
that's the other thing. Why does somebody have to die there for there to have been a ghost? In all honesty, you can't point to one place in a house or in a yard or a field or any of that something hasn't died.
We are built on the graves of everything before us.
Right.
Like, that is categorically true. It doesn't have to be human, but the very essence of our survival means that something has died.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And things will continue to do that, whether we can see it or not.
I want to see those protozoan ghosts, damn it.
You can't see protozoa anyway.
You should be able to feel them. Come on, they're ghosts. They have that metaphysical thing, right?
Sure. I like how you're arguing this as someone who's like never had a supernatural experience. Like, you should know a lot about the paranormal, and I'm like,
I'm only doing this because I actually like this conversation. It's a weird sort of thought experiment.
Yeah, I am thinking a lot about it.
Yeah.
But it doesn't.
Well, here's another weird one for you.
There's a ghost in this building that fucks with the lights.
Yeah, I've never seen it, never heard it, never experienced anything that couldn't be explained.
I'm told next door at the brewery I work there that apparently we have 3 different ghosts now.
There's 2 here.
Apparently one's shared with the Tivoli. It's a
Yeah.
lady in a white dress, and there's a guy in a suit that she apparently runs from. I have never seen, heard, nothing.
Right, it's weird.
Yeah.
You only see it if you want to.
I think, and then
But
by then,
that's-
if you want to see it, your brain will fill in the
But
blanks.
that's only sort of true because I desperately want to have like a UFO encounter. I want to look up and see a disc spinning
Funny
in
thing
the
is, you
air.
probably had a UFO encounter, but it was one of those, oh, that was just a fill in the blank.
No.
I
I,
it was.
I
Swamp
genuinely
gas, yeah.
don't believe it. I want one. I want to see something
Also-
in the sky moving. Anything.
Nothing.
Nothing has happened.
But see, you could do the thing that lots of people do, and they just believe a comet is.
I could fake it.
Right?
The comets could be spaceships, and you could just lie to yourself, which is what lots of people do.
There's a spaceship full of microbes. Wee, and ice.
Lots of ice and dust.
Mostly ice.
Most
Dust.
dust.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's cool.
I mean, yeah, it's neat looking when they put that rover on one.
You could argue that a comet is a spaceship for stuff.
Well,
It's just a cargo ship that doesn't have a pilot. It's just
Yeah,
taking
but
along
those-
the gravitational currents.
yeah, the water bears have to go, from planet to planet somehow. The mushrooms have to. Why does it have to be something we recognize? As
mushrooms should not go anywhere. I don't think they really should infect anything else.
No, they're pretty.
Shouldn't have, but they do.
They're kind of their own weird bit of biology, and they just do whatever they want.
I mean, their spores go everywhere.
What was that comic?
No.
That's like, it's like, guy holds a gun to like a mushroom. It's just like, tell me what you are.
Oh, right.
It's like, you cannot meaningfully, define me. It's like, death is an extant form of life. What the fuck does it even mean? pulls the pin back. It's like,
What were we saying about mushrooms and
I don't like
funguses?
mushrooms. I don't like mushrooms or funguses on a fundamental level. Like, I will never
How about
play
a
The Last of
dietary
Us because
level?
I don't like funguses at all. I just,
Not even dietary.
ironically, I used to eat them, and then my body was like, no. Like, FODMAP diet's like, you can only eat, what are those, lion's mane mushrooms, or one of those, like, very specific breeds.
The Chantel or something like that. Something.
You can have anything below this list, but above this one, to the right of said, and
Yeah, so my body's just like, you can't have shiitake or bell or button or...
Oh.
Yeah, and I'm like, that's a pity, because I did enjoy them, and they were a good, like, protein substitute, but at the same time, like, I had to give up caffeine and, what's the other one? Alcohol and other stuff, because if it wasn't for my gut, I would be in much worse shape. I'd be eating Pop-Tarts covered in Nutella. Like, I would just be living an extremely hedonistic lifestyle. Like, I would be trying the new flavors of Mountain Dew. Like, you cannot stop me. I can stop me.
I will make some new flavors of Mountain Dew. Yeah.
Yo, man, I was all about, like, when they were just like, hey, do you want to try a pumpkin pie flavored Pop-Tart? And I'm like, sign me the fuck up. What's this, Rock Candy Oreos? Yes, please. And now I, like, look at these and I'm like, man, cinnamon roll Oreos would fuck me right up. It's like, do you want to try a new, like, the freedom flavor of Mountain Dew? And I'm like, I do. Like watermelon, I love fake watermelon. It's got a good flavor, and it's in a vehicle of just sugar and caffeine and yellow number 5. Just devastate me, and I can't now. I want to have pumpkin spice lattes. I want to have actual ice cream.
Any actual words lately?
Nothing for quite a bit.
Okay.
What time is it?
We are at 11:06.
All right.
Wow,
I'm
record.
I'm gonna have to call it. It says it's 5:45, but
I know. Yeah, well, we're fine.
yeah, but I'm gonna have to call it on that.
Okay.
We
Well,
have to end on the somber note of Crohn's disease.
thank you everybody for listening. This is The Real Fort. Hi, Jinx.
Hi.
Yeah.
I stayed a lot longer than I anticipated, hon.
Hijinks? Hijinks, is that like one of those things you can't say in an airport, like hijack or...
Oh, Hijinks is their Twitch handle.
Yep.
NYMG_hijinks.
Okay.
Yeah, so, hi. And also Hijinks.
Yep. Thank you for letting us borrow them for a while.
Yeah.
You can have them back now.
In half an hour when I get there.
Or whatever it takes.
There's a liminal space between me and home.
All right, next week we have Ben Williams of Civilian, who's coming in, and the week after that we'll have, what's his name? Scott Winders from the library. And Mark Rogers will be making an appearance on the show eventually, and Anton Neff is coming onto the show eventually. We will be doing a special episode this week talking about the skate park here in Owen County, Spencer stuff, My Path, and things like that. Thank you, everybody, and well, it'll be a few hours before this makes it onto
Can I say a
podcast live.
thing?
You can say a thing. Not that
Awesome.
thing.
Besides that thing, if you ever want to get tested for HIV, Hep C, or syphilis, if you've never been tested in your life, you are free to call my office. Just look up IU Health Positive link. There are 3 testing offices, Terre Haute, Paoli, and Bloomington. All of it is free. You get your results same day, and it's all entirely confidential, and we don't even ask for insurance information. Like, it's pretty cool. It's simple. It's easier than you think it is, and it always helps to know. It doesn't matter if you have a lot of sex or if you've just had sex once or whatever. It's never too late, and I would absolutely love to test people. I like my job. Please don't fire me for saying the F word. or saying relatively different things about Jeremy Nichols.
On that note, thank you for everybody, and we'll see you soon.
See ya.
Did you hit the button yet?
Kill it.
Yep.
Did you hit both buttons yet?
Yep.
All 3 buttons?
Getting to the third one.
All right.
Got
We're
it.
still on YouTube, everybody.
Yeah.
This is